He's not going to play the intro song today.
That's my fault.
You're good. We don't need it. We can go live without it today. We got this. Welcome back, college baseball fans. This is the Top 25 show brought to you by the College Baseball Show from Just Baseball Media. You got the four of us again. We're back. All four of us here again on another Monday night. Jason took a week off, but he's back. How we doing? Jason Ratcliff from 6'4 Analytics.
Do good. Really enjoying some lovely weather here in Houston. The games are really starting to heat up, and I think you said it quite appropriately, Jared, a few minutes ago, that pretty much 8 through 25 is a big shit show. So it's kind of a really neat time to be talking about baseball, because pretty much everyone and their dog on Twitter right now can say you're a non-ball knower, because one week it's accurate and the next week it's false. So it's quite lovely.
Yeah, I feel like I pick things right one week and then the next week it's completely all wrong, and I have no idea about any of these teams. And there's a lot of them we're going to talk about. And I know Will Mossa is here with us again. We were talking about that off air, that some of this just makes zero sense. How we doing, buddy?
Doing fantastic. It was 75 and sunny here in Wisconsin, which is going away very quickly. And we had outside baseball practice today. I believe I tore every single ligament in my arm. I'm hanging on to a wet noodle right now. But other than that, we're having a fantastic day.
That first live BP of the season, when you go throw, you're like, yeah, forget that. I'm an old man now. It doesn't work. Nothing
It's a
works.
wet noodle. I got such little in the tank.
I got to the point before I retired that I was like, yep, pitching machine. It's throwing 75 down the middle. I don't have it anymore.
I threw a tennis ball back to somebody today, and I thought my arm was going to fall off. So
that's honestly worse. The weight of the tennis ball makes it way worse than just throwing a baseball around.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, Jared Perkins is back again for us. How we doing, Jared? Another beautiful day, man.
Oh, yeah. Doing well. I realized I poured a beer before the episode, and I was like, wait a second. It's a Monday night. I realized my brain is on paternity leave, and I don't know what day it is anymore. So, having a beer on a Monday night, I was like, oh, it's the weekend. I can just do this. Yeah, no, it's Monday.
Take
can we talk about what's so wrong with having a beer on a Monday night? You basically just described Monday nights. I'm feel judged right now for being.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that sounds brutal, man. I mean, I used to play pool on Monday nights in a pool league, and it was always beers, man. So I think beer on a Monday is perfectly fine. I like it.
Screw you, Jared.
Sorry, man. My fault. All right. Hey, I'm doing it. So I got the Omaha 25 anniversary mug.
You did the whiskey the one night with me doing the Thursday night show. We've had a blast. It's just good college baseball. Some ungood news, some news that I don't like sharing. Myles Bailey, Florida State superstar, done for the season. You knew when the other guys looked around and looked and saw it, and they had their mini panic attacks. You knew it was rough. What does this mean for Florida State, Jason? I'll start with you, because this is a very good Florida State team analytically, eye test, and then they lose this superstar.
Yeah, someone asked a pretty good question today when we released our rankings, because ours are a little different than y'all's. Y'all's are kind of, experts reviewing. Ours is we just kind of put it in a formula that spits it out. What would that impact in terms of kind of Florida State's ceiling and their floor? I feel like it's kind of yet to be determined, because you kind of have to think about who is going to be a replacement. And generally, when you have someone that goes down, you kind of have pieces that move around. Maybe your right fielder becomes your first baseman, or your DH becomes your first base. You almost try to mix and match to see where they go. And so you don't know if that maybe that 11th hitter becomes your everyday 9th hitter. What works the best. But I think what you can ultimately say is it's very difficult to lose a guy who's basically been a top 5 hitter in D1. You feel terrible for Myles Bailey. Talking to someone pretty close to him, he's done enough, in my opinion, to warrant still that first round. And I'm not going to pretend like I'm some sort of draft expert, but his defensive abilities at first were far better than I expected. I saw him live in Arlington. I think they were week 2 of Arlington, if I remember correctly, and he made 2 pretty phenomenal plays in the field. I expected him to go up there, be behemoth behind the plate, behemoth at the plate like he always is. But he was far better defensively than I expected. So to have someone that's basically like a cornerstone at that corner infield spot, someone that you can rely on to effectively get you, 6+ RBIs at every single weekend, every single pitcher's trying to like pitch around them. I mean, you think about that NC State series, the first game that NC State actually won, like it was basically just the Myles Bailey show for that game. And that was basically it. So I think it really impacts their, I'm going to say, floor, because I think when you lose a guy of that caliber, it reduces your floor. You don't know yet what it means for their ceiling.
Yeah, I mean, you're taking away a guy that was just penciled in every single day in the middle of your lineup, hitting 3 and playing first base and giving you that stability. And you knew what you were getting from him. You're getting a guy that probably was going to end up hitting 30 home runs and close to 100 RBIs and was driving this team. They have pieces. I love their lineup. I think that they got other guys that are going to step up, and they're going to have somebody that plays first base now that probably was not planning on playing first at all this year. But I still like what they're doing. I think Link Jarrett knows how to coach. He's going to find the right guys. He's going to find the right lineup, and there's a lot of guys that are going to step up. Jared, I know we talked a little bit about this off air, but it was just brutal to see, just from a general standpoint of Myles Bailey. Is a tremendous young man too. There's not many people out in the world that would say anything negatively about this kid.
Yeah, I wish I never saw the video, and someone sent it to me, and I was like, I didn't really want to see that. But you could see by the reaction. I think someone tweeted out like the Duke third baseman or somebody. That's when you know it's just not good. Based on that reaction. I think that's how everybody felt if they saw the clip. And we talk about the performance that Myles Bailey had on the field, but you could see the reactions on Twitter and everywhere else. Myles Bailey has a huge impact in that locker room in general. And I think just not having his presence on the field is going to play a huge impact on this Florida State team. Again, he'll probably be in the dugout, right, supporting his team, kind of being there as he can. But I just think just not having that leadership like in your lineup every single day is it's going to hurt the team.
Yeah, for those that are college baseball fans, it really felt a little bit like the Braden Montgomery injury. Now, he got hurt in the postseason, but then once Texas A&M got to the postseason, got to Omaha, it kind of felt like they were just missing that piece. I hope this isn't the case, but that's a big piece to replace in your lineup, man.
Yeah, it's huge. And not even just from production from last year. Like if you look at where he's improved this year, the contact rates are way up. He's not striking out as much as, we were as concerned with coming into the season. It's been unbelievable for them. And this is a team that has kind of been set up for an Omaha run, less the bullpen if they can figure out those pieces. And they feel more of like a complete team this year than they did last year, even with Jamie Arnold on the front end of the rotation. And that's a huge loss. Again, you don't know how they're going to replace that. Jason mentioned it. I mean, it could be the right fielder bumping in. You kind of almost treat it as next best available player rather than who's your next first baseman.
Yeah.
Yep.
You're missing a big bat, though. I mean, that's a dude that can leave the yard and flip a game on any pitch throughout the season. So, I mean, you hate to see it. Obviously, we hope he bounces back and has a monster year next year because he was on track to have a pretty damn good year this year.
Yeah, I got to believe. I think that's probably his last game at Florida State. I think that he's going to be probably still taking the first round. Like, he's put himself in that conversation, that position where he deserves it. I mean, like I said, I wanted to make the comparison to Braden Montgomery because it kind of feels the same, where Braden had done enough to say he's a first rounder. Feels like Myles has done the exact same thing. Now, I don't know how high that ends up being, but I think there's plenty of tape on the kid and how much improvement he made from last year to this year tells me that he's ready for that next level. And we wish him all the best. We hope to see him in the dugout and hanging out with the guys and doing the things around college baseball because he's just a tremendous young man by all accounts. Adrian Rodriguez out for 3 weeks for Texas. Kind of felt almost planned by the way that they talked about it today. Like he'd had a nagging injury. They're going to take a staple out of his hand that had been hurt last year. Misses the next 3 weeks, but I think that this is a fine thing. Missing 3 weeks here is a lot better than missing them late.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, you brought up the Braden Montgomery situation from a couple of years ago. Like if you're going to miss time, this is the time to do it, especially what Texas has done in SEC play so far. It feels like they can afford to let him rest for a couple of weeks. I mean, this is a freshman All-American from last year. He's almost matched his RBI total from a year ago, despite not hitting a home run yet. So the production is up for him. I know the slug isn't quite there for what it was last year, but this is a huge piece of them defensively too. So I think they're doing the right thing, but we'll see how it plays out for Texas over the next couple of weeks. But I think this is the right move. I think this is a good time to do it.
Yeah, seeing defensively, I mean, Jason, we shifted a guy over, Timo Becerra, who's already played shortstop at the deep level. So that's got to be like a thank you if you're talking about Schlossnagle who's going, okay, well, I got a guy who's played this position.
Yeah, and so this is, I think, where part of I go, okay, is this going to have a ton of impact for Texas? Because, they're already kind of a little, I guess, impact. Jonah Williams, their outfielder from, kind of their do-it-all, two-way stud. He was already out for the year. Now you have this, it felt like A-Rod was finally like finding his place at short, because it kind of, it was kind of like who's going to play that short at the beginning of the year. Was it going to be Timo coming over from Stanford, if I remember correctly? So it felt like they were really like kind of solidifying that. And then like the outfield was already kind of thin. So I think the difference for this one is it's shortstop. Like when you have Myles Bailey, it's first. And it's not that first is an easy position, but it's also kind of sometimes the position that it's like, who's the best hitter? Like, can we put them there? Well, yeah, exactly. And shortstop is more of like, who's going to not lose us games? So the nice thing is, as you said, like you've got a shortstop, but then you've also got a third. Now you've got someone at the hot corner. So I mean, I'm sure like they'll make it work. But I think there are two comments here. One is they have South Carolina next. So you said maybe they planned this. I'm not saying that they look at that as South Carolina. Yes, they got swept, but they played better this weekend. But if you're going to pick a weekend, perhaps this is the weekend to pick it. But secondarily, it's kind of like Texas is struggling with their bullpen right now. And so if they kind of give up 2 to 3 runs a weekend because of maybe a defensive, like, does that mean like a game lost? Now, like 2 in 1 weekend, like you're still happy. But I think this is kind of like an impact that may go beyond just was the guy, 3 for 6 on a weekend. It's what kind of downstream ramifications would this have by kind of having to take those integral portions of your lineup and move them around and really kind of impact what your battery, which ultimately what your lineup's going to be moving forward.
Yeah, and it still is a procedure. I'm not going to call it a full-blown surgery. It's a procedure. And 3 weeks is the guesstimate timetable. There's no guarantees that this is a 3-week injury. There's no guarantees that he comes back playing like he had been. Now, do I think it could help him? I do. From everything I heard, like it was a nagging injury. It was just being really an annoyance to him at this point, and it was causing him issue to be consistent. I think that this will help him out. Jared, we talk about it. They're going to move Borba over from first to third. It sounds like Becerra goes from third to short, moving guys around, getting them out of position. That can kind of mess with the team. But again, Texas seems to be rolling.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about Becerra played a lot of shortstop at Stanford, so like he's got the experience there. I'm not too worried about that kind of shuffling. But yeah, like we talked about, everybody's mentioned like we're losing one of the best bats in this lineup. This is a guy who's like a top 5 pick potentially for the 2027 MLB draft. So not draft eligible until next year, but still, like, good news is you're only losing him for 3 weeks, right? Like that's the positive. And Texas is on such a roll and they're so deep that I don't know how much this will hurt them, because the pitching staff, like, you look at what the pitching staff's doing, and Adrian Rodriguez hasn't really been living up to the hype on the offensive side this year. And so, like, you're kind of wondering, like, okay, how much are they going to take a huge step back here? And I don't know if they will, because this team is just so deep and they have the pieces to kind of replace a guy like this. I don't think they're losing, in some sense, like almost like a Myles Bailey type. Like what Myles Bailey has done offensively for Florida State has been just bonkers. But I do think you're losing a major piece here, and it'll be interesting to see how they kind of respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, having Timo Becerra there is like got to feel good. He beat out all-world shortstop Charlie Bates, who's now the shortstop at Stanford, who ended up having to move to center field last year. So that tells you the kind of talent he has at shortstop, and just being able to have that control and being a graduate, understanding what's going to be expected of him at shortstop here, I think is a big thing. And I don't see Texas really taking a huge stumble. They may lose 1 or 2 more games than they would have missing him out of lineup, but I think that this is still such a good team that they're going to cruise through the next 3 weeks. And hopefully they get him back 100% healthy and they're just ready to roll for that Omaha run. Speaking of SEC teams, 10 teams, yes, count them, 10 teams have been swept 3 weeks into the season for SEC play. That is Alabama, Arkansas, Auburn, Florida, Missouri, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. Jared, that's bonkers that 10 out of 16 teams have been swept in the first 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, I think like we talked about parity kind of being strong in college baseball. I think parity is pretty strong in the SEC as well. We've talked about LSU being this powerhouse that can't be touched. Like they're definitely hitting their warts this year, and they're showing that they aren't going to be that powerhouse every year. It's really hard in college baseball, like especially if you make a championship run. It's hard to recruit while also fighting for a championship and trying to bring the right pieces in the door. And so some other teams have been able to kind of take advantage of that. And like you look at Mississippi State, like they had all offseason to really just kind of pile on. Same with Georgia, basically. They had most of the offseason to really kind of pile on and bring in a huge big time roster. And both those teams are at the top of the SEC and are performing really well because of that. So I just think it's like a nice prime example of how there is still some parity amongst this SEC.
Huge parity in the league. I mean, like there's teams going out there and sweeping that had been swept already. Will, we talked about it. Alabama's been in 3. Florida's been in 3. Like that's wild.
Yeah, Alabama goes out and gets swept weekend 1, and then they sweep the last 2 weekends. And talk about eating the garbage. I'm very confident in my Auburn pick on Thursday night show. I even went out on a limb and said, I think Auburn's going to sweep this series. Man, I was wrong. I mean, we've got 3 SEC teams with sub 500 records in our top 20 as of today. And Vandy is one of the teams that's above 500 right now. And I mean, there's so many teams that I don't know what to make of. Like we may have hit the turning point for LSU. I think Ole Miss is better than the record leads on.
Yeah.
Oklahoma and Auburn, I believe, are better than what the record leads on. I mean, Auburn's 4-5 in conference play. They've had a really hard schedule to kick it off. And I think that team is a lot better than 4-5, but they're 4-5 at the end of the day. Yeah, I mean, Florida continues to baffle me. I don't know what to make of Florida, Arkansas, and Alabama. To me, are the 3 most and Vanderbilt, for what it's worth, are the 4 most confusing teams in this conference. Don't know what you're going to get on any given weekend at all of them. Vandy can come out and score 20 runs. They can come out and score 0. Just so confusing on both sides of the ball. But quite honestly, it's making it really fun because it seems like every conference is like this year. Like every conference appears to have holes in the armor, and 5, 6, 7, 8 teams that like legitimately could win this thing. I think every Power 5 conference legitimately, other than the Big Ten, has 7 to 8 teams that can legitimately at the end of the year win the regular season title. Yeah.
I mean, Jason, SEC, does this say more about how much talent is there and how much talent was brought in this year? Or is it, the top end talent is kind of leveled out with the bottom end talent?
I would say the second one. I mean, I've been harping on this quite a bit, but I think walks are just kind of getting out of control. Arkansas walked like 20 plus guys against Florida. I mean, we saw the insane amount of runs that were happening between Kentucky and LSU on Sunday. I mean, I think what you're seeing is kind of a lack of consistency would maybe be a good way to put it. And I don't know if that's because of like the talent gap just isn't as wide, or if like maybe there's more talent like across the board. Not really sure. But this isn't one of those years where in the SEC it's kind of felt like, I don't know, 2 teams are just dominant. For me, if I were to pick those 2 teams, I would say Mississippi State and Georgia right now. Those 2 teams feel like the most complete. But I think you're just kind of getting maybe confusion with LSU and Arkansas because, depending upon the week, they've been ranked, wherever or haven't been ranked. Or I mean, it's a confusing SEC year. And as soon as you feel like you have a feel for Alabama, or you have a feel for Kentucky, or you have a feel even for LSU, like then there'll be a week where it's like, okay, well, potentially they're not as good or they're not as bad as we thought they were.
Yeah, it just feels like you could really coin flip a lot of these, and you're like, okay, this is a top 25 team, and then like a Tennessee goes out and gets swept, where it feels like they could have won any of those 3 games, and then they just didn't perform at all at the time that they needed to, giving up the walk-off grand slam when they could have won that game. Like you're looking around at guys and going, okay, this team is 1 team away from being over 500. This team's a couple of games away from winning every series. They're not, and these teams are dropping these games. It's very important. Let's jump to the Big 12 also here. I want to talk about this one. UCF sits atop it, but boy, West Virginia's made a statement and winning at Arizona State. Jared, I'll let you talk about this one because I know that ex Arizona State guy. This is crazy. That series was awesome. It lived up to the expectations. We got a Sunday night baseball game on ESPN. What else could we have asked for?
I mean, when ASU won that first game 14-4, I was like, oh, they're taking the series easily, right? They won the Cole Garland start. But I think it kind of talks to what we were discussing earlier in the season. I was like, after Cole Garland, like, what is this Arizona State pitching staff? They've tried Alex Overbay in the rotation. He goes 2 1/3, 9 hits, 7 earned runs. Like, right, he was dominant in the bullpen in that Arlington series, and you're kind of like, okay, when are they going to make the shift and kind of bring him back to the bullpen? But yeah, I mean, Landon Harrison was an absolute beast in this game, but you look at the rest of the lineup, and no one else really produced. West Virginia was kind of able to keep them off bay. Landon Harrison had 10 RBIs out of all the runs that were scored by Arizona State. So it was absolutely absurd what he did, and they just needed more guys to kind of step up. But I think it's a testament to the West Virginia pitching staff that they were able to really hold this ASU lineup at bay.
Yeah, and like I said, UCF sits atop, and they beat TCU, who's sitting at fourth place. Jason, the fourth place teams are Arizona State, TCU, Utah, and Baylor. What? Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. No idea on the Big 12. I think, Will, you can speak more to TCU, but I feel like TCU may be kind of getting their footing back. I don't know if it's 100% back because they're still obviously dealing with injuries. But it feels like they're playing better ball. Kansas took 2 or 3 from Cincinnati. I was trying to see if Cincinnati was going to kind of try to take that step forward. They just haven't. Yeah. I mean, every time it feels like, okay, maybe this team is going to, make that next move. Because, it was who did Arizona State play previously? They played, was it?
They played TCU.
Did they play TCU the previous week? I was trying to remember because I was thinking to myself, like, this would be was it Kansas State? Was it Kansas State, Arizona State?
They played Kansas State the previous week, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then TCU the week before that.
Because for me, that was like, okay, that's going to be a really big, because I really like the makeup of Kansas State's hitting, but their pitching is just not as good. And so it feels like every time I kind of have a feel for the Big 12, a team goes and just kind of does okay. West Virginia, I feel like, is kind of the opposite. They feel like they're always good. I wouldn't say they're always like phenomenal, but they're always really, really good. And the data kind of backs it up. The data really likes them from kind of a weighted runs above average fit perspective. So, I mean, right now, I like the way West Virginia is looking. But, I mean, to your question on the Big 12, this is one of those that I think you could kind of just take a point and flip it, and you'll be right every other week.
Yeah, I mean, they lose the Dawson Montesa start, and then they go win the rest of the series. And it feels like this could be any of these teams. There's only 2 teams under 500, Will, in all the Big 12, and that's Arizona and Houston. I don't think you could have paid me enough to say that those would be the 2 teams that would be under 500 in the Big 12.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, we anticipated an Arizona down year even before the Tony Pluto news. I would not have predicted 9-18 as an overall record. That's beyond my belief. And Houston, I was very bullish on coming into the year. They start off 1-8 in Big 12 play. That's the biggest surprise to me of this whole list. And I know they're figuring out some pieces, but they look good in the early season. This team is going to be middle of the pack in the Big 12. They, to me, I would have placed where Baylor is right now.
Yeah.
Yep. And Baylor's playing very solid baseball. Utah's a big surprise. They were the team that I picked second to last, admittedly, coming into the season. They're playing good baseball. And we get a really fun series this weekend. UCF goes to Morgantown. Morgantown is going to be on fire next weekend. I mean, that's a huge conference series because right now it's kind of it's UCF, West Virginia. I know Kansas is 6-3, but whoever wins this series builds a pretty significant buffer in the conference, assuming that Kansas doesn't sweep.
Well, then UCF's at Kansas the following week because I'll be there. And it's going to be wild. It's going to be insanity, man, especially if UCF can pull off a win at Morgantown and get 2 of 3 there. It's going to be great chaos.
It's really fun baseball, and I love that the Big 12 is getting some of the national stage. It's really, really cool. And Jason, to your point, TCU, I think they're absolutely finding their fitting. They're finding out what the lineup is. It was good to see Franco back in the lineup this weekend against Texas Tech, and for how subpar his approach was the first 2 weeks of the season, his approach was much better Like he's always going to be a guy that swings at pitches out of the zone, but he seemed far more under control than he did those first 2 weeks of the season. I know Tech's pitching isn't incredible, but TCU went wire to wire in that series. I was impressed with the Frogs. I know the one game got a little bit chippy at the end and resulted in the walk-off, but it really felt like TCU was in control all 3 games.
Yeah, it did. And it's been just crazy Big 12 ball. I just wanted to point it out that they are probably the second most entertaining conference right now. I'm not going to say they're the second best conference, but the entertainment value is really high right now in Big 12. Like, I love ACC ball, but it's definitely SEC and then Big 12 for me right now. As far as like, if I'm picking up a game to watch, that Sunday night baseball game was terrific. Even though it wasn't great, the first 6 innings, West Virginia didn't score. Like they were scoreless through 6, and then they go out there and win that baseball game. I thought it was terrific. So glad that we got those games.
To quote a Big 12 coach I was talking to on Thursday or Wednesday of last week, I can't remember. He said, nobody in our league can pitch. So I think the nice thing is it really provides a lot of it provides runs. So if you're looking for a fun game, turn on some Big 12 baseball.
Yeah, you're going to get lots of entertainment. I love it. Let's talk about the ACC, though. It is madness. Florida State's sitting up at 8-1, but we just talked about the injury that they just had to their superstar. Georgia Tech, who's the top 5 team all year so far, is 9-3. UNC looked great. They're 9-3. Boston College, 8-4. Jason, I know you want to talk about this Boston College team. The numbers say this team probably shouldn't be here, probably shouldn't be in the top 25, but they've played their way into it.
Yeah, this is one of the ones where sometimes you just kind of have to throw away the numbers and just say they're winning. I think a lot of times, as someone who, like, this is kind of how I've gained my reputation with the coaches, is like with the data. Sometimes it's just win, baby. And I think that's what, and they're not just winning. I mean, they won 17-0 versus Virginia. So, I mean, like, let's not like pretend like, they did a squeeze bunt to walk them off. Like they've put up some pretty crazy numbers. Yeah, they lost the last game, 3-1, I think, to Virginia. But I mean, like, to take that series against a very talented Virginia program is really impressive. So I mean, they're absolutely trending in the right direction. As you said, 3rd in the ACC. You have to really like what they're doing, especially from a pitching perspective. Brady Miller, what do you do? 7 innings pitched, didn't allow a run, sub-1 FIP. So, I mean, they're doing a lot of really impressive things against some really impressive bats. I mean, they led AJ Gracia to like a 281 WOBA. Becker was sub 200 WOBA. So, I mean, they took some of the best hitters in the country and made them look not very good.
Yeah, AJ Colarusso made that lineup look silly, and it was like, wow, this is a big statement on Friday to go out there and win that one. Jared, we talked about this, but this is a good baseball team, but I want to talk about a team that maybe is not playing so well. Clemson. What in the world is a 2-7 Clemson team that was in everybody's top 25 team? This Eric Backus team is loaded with talent. They seemingly have a Friday night ace who just hasn't performed like a Friday night ace for them yet. They still have 4 top 5 teams right now in ACC play. They still have to play ridiculous stuff. They have to play Florida State, UNC, Boston College, and Virginia still. And they're sitting at 2-7. They are like, God, must win, almost must sweep some start series.
It's kind of crazy because I really did think this team was going to be so much more talented coming into the season. They have a team ERA under 4, but still, it's like, if you're not getting the best out of your Friday night ace, it's like, it's hard to, like, ACC has a lot of Friday night aces, and if you can't get that first game won, it makes it difficult to win a series. And so Aiden Knox got a 4.72 ERA, still striking out the world. He's got 44 Ks and 26 and 2/3 innings, but you expect a little bit more from them on the offensive side of the ball. Bats have been fine and decent, but they're still not kind of producing at a clip besides Jacob Jarrell, who's kind of hitting a ton of home runs and driving in some runs. But I don't know. I don't really know what to make of this team because you look at the stat lines and they're not awful, right? They're not egregious. You don't expect this team to be at the bottom of the ACC, but they can't find a way to win series. And so until you do so, it's just kind of going to be interesting to see what they can pull off as the season continues. Like right now, they're in such a big hole. Not at such a I would say they're in such a big hole at 2-7 that it's going to be hard to come back and come out of that unless you go on a massive streak, and it's not easy to do in the ACC.
Yeah, Will, we said it's going to be show me, for some of these teams the next couple of weeks. When we talked on the Thursday night show, NC State goes the wrong direction. They're now 3-6. Clemson now 2-7. Miami winning that series was big for them, but teams like Notre Dame and Wake Forest, like they're sitting at 6-6, but they seem to be all over the board in question marks. I can't figure out the ACC. Maybe you can shed some light for me.
I don't know if I can shed some light in terms of what I think is going to happen, but I want to build off of Jared's point because there's something that we talked about last season that I think is super important. It seemed like their stats last year, when you look at the stats, were very similar to this year. Like last year, that was a team that I didn't understand how they won 45 games last year. Looking up and down the stat lines, it was like, this team looks like, on paper, a 35-40 win team, maybe solid at times, but they won 45-18 last year. So it's almost like it's like a balancing act. It's almost like regressing to the mean this year because they don't look that different on paper than they did last year. They really don't. Like they feel like a very similar team. They're built very similar. It's a lot of the same guys, but they're 2-7 to start the year, and it's not getting any easier. And I think at this point, you have to start questioning: are they going to be a tournament team? I mean, you have 5 series ahead of them that they may not win. Like they may lose all 5 of those series lined up ahead of them. And I think the one thing in the ACC that draws parallels to the Big 12 is that every team has holes in the armor. Like we've seen it with Georgia Tech, we've seen it with Florida State. We've seen it with Virginia. Obviously, we saw it this weekend. Even like Boston College, we saw it with Notre Dame. We've seen it with UNC. Like every team is beatable. I think North Carolina is the most complete team in this whole bunch. But every one of these teams is beatable. So I'm not saying that Clemson's out of it. However, if they don't right the ship and they don't take a couple of these really big series, they may be out of the tournament. I mean, we saw Virginia miss the tournament at, I believe, 500 in ACC play. Someone correct me if I'm wrong.
I think they were 16-14. I think that they were.
Did they finish over 500? Yeah. So, I mean, they might be knocking on the door of missing the tournament like we saw Virginia last year.
It's going to be really hard for a team to get in this year with a losing record in the ACC. And likewise, SEC also, I think if you have less than 13, you're definitely not getting in. But 13 may be too low of a cut even in the SEC this year. I know, Jason, you're probably going to disagree with me, but 13 may not be enough in SEC play.
Sometimes I think it just comes down to numbers because if you're not going to – like someone has to get in. I think this is going to be one of the years where the bubble is going to be really bad. And the question is, are they going to let we'll just throw out a Troy. I know Troy's not having a good year, but maybe
Sun Belt team.
Arkansas State.
Yeah,
that'd be a good example where they're kind of like that 30 to 40 RPI. Like, are they going to let in an Arkansas State or are they going to let in a 13-17 Clemson? I think that's going to be a really difficult thing for the committee this year because the RPI is super jacked up right now. Vanderbilt is still in the hundreds, if I remember correctly, and they just swept Tennessee. I mean, I get it. Like all of them were walk-offs. Crazy that every single game was a walk-off, including a walk-off granny. But it is wild to see like Arkansas's in the 50s. I think Vandy's in the hundreds. I mean, even Georgia, I think they're still in the 40s or 50s. So a lot of just really odd RPI numbers that, to your point, like I think it'll be hard for a 13-17 to get in. But then you almost have to like think of just from a numbers perspective. I mean, if you're only getting in 8 or so from the SEC and the ACC, you need to get approximately 40 bids from like those power conferences. So you're only going to be you're talking about basically 30 to 35 at-large bids. And so you're going to need them from somewhere. And we just talked about how the Big 12 is insane. So I don't think they're going to be coming from the Big 10. So then the question is like, where are they going to come from? So I don't know if you're not going to see the 13. I just think you're going to have some really pissed off fans. That's probably my best way to put it, I think, is you're going to have some fans from Arkansas State, or you're going to have some fans, from a Southland conference that's going to be like I'll just throw it out like a Lamar. Like Lamar. If Lamar doesn't, good teams that, on paper should get in, but the committee's sitting there going like, well, we always let teams who are 14 and 16 in the SEC in, and should we? Like, I think that's going to be hard.
It's going to be some very difficult conversations, and I can't wait for that here in a few weeks when we start getting into some of these teams that are sitting at bad records as we're talking about for conference play. And Clemson's put themselves in that spot though at the 2-7. It's not a good enough record at this point. I know we were talking about the Texas A&M's last year. Florida at this point last year was 1-8 and they got in, but Texas A&M did not. So looking at those, like this is kind of that same grind that Clemson's going to have the rest of the ACC season, where they still have 4 of the top 5 series left in conference play, and that's going to be very difficult for them to go out there and get a ton of wins there. Let's talk about the top 25 teams now. We are into our top 25 here. Let's talk about the new teams in before we actually say their numbers. UCF, Boston College, and Nebraska all welcome into the party. Florida welcome back into the top 25 with their series and sweep there, like going out and taking Arkansas on the road. That's huge. NC State, Tennessee, Notre Dame, and Ole Miss all drop out for us. Will, a surprise there with those teams? I mean, those teams seem to be the ones that have been struggling. I think the one that surprised me the most was probably Ole Miss. Because I just think that they maybe should be right on that bubble. But again, some of these teams are deserving, like a UCF leading the Big 12.
Yeah, agreed. I think if I had to pick one of those 4 to keep in, I would say Ole Miss.
Yep.
I've spoken my piece on NC State. I think they have a really short end of the stick in terms of their scheduling right now, because they've played competition that's significantly below them. And then their ACC start to the season has been really good. And now they can actually hang their hat on the BC series win, which is a good series win. So even they have a leg to stand on. I fear we were too early on Notre Dame. I actually texted this earlier in the week. Like it felt like one of those things. If they were to lose to North Carolina in any capacity, it felt like they were going to be out, because I felt like we deservingly so jumped the gun a little bit, ranking them for a couple of really good weeks of baseball, which is always super fair when you're looking for teams 20 through 25. It's kind of a who's hot game right now. As soon as that Friday game got canceled, it became a doubleheader. I was like, this is trouble for Notre Dame. I don't think they're coming out of there with a series win. And Tennessee, it feels like we've kind of just been waiting for them to lose a series. Not like personally, but it feels like they've been on the cusp of the top 25, and we can't knock them for winning series, but they've kind of been one of those teams that every week we go back and forth. Like, are they really a top 25 team? Like, well, they won the series. We can't bounce them. Like, we can't bounce a team for winning an SEC series. They go out, get swept in a crazy fashion. And I feel like all 4 are quite fair. I would say Ole Miss is the one, if any fan base has gripes about, that's probably the one that is most valid at this point.
Yeah, dropping 2 ACC and 2 SEC teams out is like, okay, I felt like they're the teams that probably didn't perform. I'm with you with Ole Miss. I think that's right there. Jared, we look at this, though, and you go, there's only 5 ACC teams, not to, like, spoiler alert. There's only 5 ACC teams in our top 25. Meanwhile, there's 4 Big Ten teams, and we keep talking about how the Big Ten's not going to have that many teams in. There's 4 Big Ten teams in the top 25 right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think the ACC, just the teams we thought that were going to live up to expectations haven't been, like NC State, Clemson, just haven't been living up to those expectations. Louisville, I mean, that's one team that from the beginning of the season we thought were like, you look at that lineup from top to bottom, like, how is this team not going to be ranked? But the pitching staff had just kind of disappeared. There's no Patrick Forbes on that team to kind of take over Friday nights for them. Miami, same thing. Kind of, they're a team I could see that could potentially get themselves back into the top 25 if they go on a run. Yeah. Yep. But again, they dropped out because, again, poor performance. They went and got swept by Florida, and it just kind of just been an up and down season. And I think that's part of the reason why Notre Dame got in, because we thought that a lot of the teams that they beat in the ACC were a lot stronger than they really were. But now that we keep watching Clemson and the resume continue to build for Clemson, we're like, okay, well, was that Notre Dame series win actually like a legit series win for Notre Dame? And so I think the ACC is kind of just up in the air, and that's why we're seeing so many teams drop out. Yeah, Jason, any of these 4 teams, you're like, that kind of surprised me when you saw these rankings that we released?
No, I think you all got it right on this. Ole Miss, Becerra, probably their best hitter. I think he was 0 for 18 with 10 Ks. Yeah, we rank every. I mean, the week. It wasn't even a weekend.
Even the midweek. Yeah.
We rank every single hitter 1 through whatever. He was quite literally the last hitter. No exaggeration, the last. So having a top 50 hitter in all of D1 baseball be quite literally the worst hitter in D1 for a week, that's just going to impact your lineup. You're going to have production that you anticipate, and it's just not going to be there. So I think that kind of shows how good Mississippi State is without McPherson. So for me, I don't think this is a statement on Ole Miss. I think it's, hey, we had a shit week against a really good team. Notre Dame, I think, Will, you said it perfectly. Maybe just 1 week to they're a good team, but I think Miami's could potentially be a team in that top 25. I think they're a lot better than their record indicates. I know they got swept by Florida. That was 2 games and coin flip on who would have won that. And now Florida's won 4 straight games this week against top 10 opponents. So clearly Florida is a good team. So I think they've shown that they can go toe to toe with really good teams, and they're kind of one of those that you look on from paper perspective. The pitching is really good. The hitting is really good. It's like, are they going to put it together for 2 to 3 weekends in a row and kind of show that that number that's on that, that box score aligns with actually what's showing up on the field?
Yeah, I think you nailed it with the Miami because they're going to get healthy at the right time. They have 2 big bullpen arms coming back in the next couple of weeks. They're going to bolster that team, and the starting rotation's been a lot better than people thought on the weekends. I think that they're going to start hitting. I think you're going right there, Jason.
Yeah.
Let's talk about visual edge. We're all looking for an edge. These top 25 teams are looking for an edge, trying to get in here. Big sponsor for us. We love these guys. Confidence comes from clarity. Confidence at the plate doesn't just come from taking more practice swings. It comes from understanding the pitches and getting that clarity. Seeing the ball out of the hand, picking up the spin earlier, trusting your swing decision because you know exactly what you've seen. Visual Edge is built around training that kind of clarity. You start with the Edge test, which measures your visual processing, tracking, and depth perception. It shows you where you stand compared to other college athletes, and then it builds a personalized plan around what you need to work on the most. The training sessions are short and focused, about 15 minutes a day. That's manageable even during season for you guys. And when it comes to coming from virtually anywhere, you can literally do this anywhere you want. Anything you need is a laptop or a tablet. Anything bigger than a phone works. MLB players like Aaron Judge, Nico Horner, Tommy Edman, and Ke'Bryan Hayes are all using this at the highest level because fractions of a second matter. Listeners of our show can use code CBSHOW, get your first month free 3D glasses, free shipping, cancel anytime. Go to visualedge.com/signup. Use code CBSHOW. That's visual with a Z. 15 minutes a day can change how you see the game. Train your eyes, train your brain, train your edge. Let's go to our top 25. Number 25 is UCF. Listen, what Andrew Williamson and that team are doing right now is unbelievable. They're 8-1 in conference play. They've played a really tough non-conference schedule, and they put themselves in this position to be right here ranked. Now, big test at Morgantown this weekend. I'm very, very excited for this one, but big props to UCF. I think they very much deserve to be in this list, especially leading the Big 12, which is a very competitive conference. And we've said we don't know what to expect from them. They've been consistent all year for this conference, and they went out and they beat TCU on the road. Big road win for them. They have back-to-back road weeks coming up here at West Virginia and then at Kansas. The top 2 teams currently in Big 12, if they can perform like that, especially with freshman Jordan Lodi at shortstop for them, they are just a superstar team on the making, and they have pitching, they have hitting, they have all the pieces that you want from a top 25 team. Can't wait for this weekend at Morgantown. Number 24, Boston College. Will, this Boston College team, man, like we said it off air, the numbers don't say that they should necessarily be a top 25 team, that they shouldn't be on this kind of winning streak. Up until that Sunday game, had they won that, they would have been on a 9-game winning streak and just continue to beat really good teams.
Yeah, it's BC Birdball. I love it. This has been such a fun team, and the style of play has always been something that has always drawn me to this club, and they've never kind of panned out in terms of the wins and losses, but it's so much fun, man. 25 sack bunts on the year, 63 of 75 stolen bases. I mean, nothing really jumps off. An 817 team OPS, it's not bad. A lot of it is carried by Nick Wang, who's got 11 home runs on the year and 37 RBI, which – quite frankly, there's not a lot of players up and down the roster that are even close to touching. And the pitching is good. Like, it's a sub-4 ERA. It's a 240 batting average against. They don't strike out a lot of guys, less than 1 per inning, but they're not walking a lot of guys either. I mean, 117 walks and 252 innings is very solid. Like, they're making everybody earn any run that they're allowing. And I think that's the biggest piece of it. When you play that small ball, we talk about Cincinnati, having that weapon. We saw what it did last year in the postseason. Like, there are teams that just, for whatever reason, they struggle against that style. And Boston College seems to have put together a lineup that everybody is stealing bases. Everybody is attempting stolen bases. Everybody is sack bunting. It's a lot of fun. It's like 1 through 9. It's like, you don't know what they're going to do. This is a really fascinating team because, again, the numbers, none of it jumps off the paper. It's like a lineup of really decent hitters and Nick Wang, who's carrying the boats with a 1.1 plus OPS, but they're 20-9 and they're rolling in an ACC play. And they just set the second highest attendance record in program history this weekend. 2,500 plus people out there in March in Massachusetts. Like, that's awesome. I love everything about what's happening with this team right now. It's especially with their hockey team not being in the Frozen Four, it appears that they have turned the attention to baseball, and I'm all about it.
Birdball, man, it's a baseball school. I know I picked them on Thursday, and you were like, "All right, I see you working."
Yeah, I didn't think there was anyway.
Yeah, you said that they were going to take a game. Also, you agreed with me there.
I did say they were going to take one. 17-0 in game 2, though. Like that, and game 3 was winnable. Like this could have been a sweep.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. I loved it. Number 23, Nebraska. And this is a team that we talked about several times. They were on a huge win streak. They did lose the one on that Friday night game 2 weeks ago to Michigan. And then they just decided that they're going to go back on another winning streak. Jason, this is a very complete Nebraska team, and they put themselves as the 4th team of the Big Ten in.
Yeah. For me, this is a team that I don't know if I've been able to fully wrap my head around yet. I can't say that Dylan Carey he's legit. I think sometimes when playing in Big Ten, maybe there's some players that kind of go under the radar unless they're playing for like UCLA or maybe Oregon. I think Dylan Carey is one of those. If you haven't seen this guy play, he's a top 10 player in D1 right now. I think pretty legitimately it's a pretty easy case to be made. So they've got star power. They're 8-1 in the Big Ten, 22-6 overall. I mean, they've done enough to where they should be on the map. For me, this is kind of that murkiness. I think there's a super murky between 15 and 40 would probably be like what I would call it. And I think they deserve to be in there. But would I like say that they're a top 25 team? Maybe if, you were to run every game 100 times, I really don't know. But I think based upon what they've done on the field to this point, they absolutely deserve to be there.
Yeah, and they continue to beat the teams that are in front of them. They have some tough series coming, but what they do, they beat the teams that are in front of them. They beat them well. They lost that Michigan game 2-1, but that wasn't even a bad baseball game. They just got outpitched that day from a very good pitcher there.
And they're trending up quite a bit. Their pitching's getting a lot better. I mean, the past few weeks from their pitching perspective, they've gone from a 4.3 FIP to a 2.9 FIP. So they're on a good trajectory right now. So their best baseball may be in front of them.
Yeah, and it only gets warmer. It only gets warmer in Nebraska the rest of the season. It doesn't get colder from here on out, so it's just going to get better baseball weather down there. Jared, Kentucky, 22. They win that Friday night game, and we all start going, man, is this like that Kentucky team that won the SEC a few years ago and made that Omaha run? And then they drop 2. It is at the box, which it's still LSU, even though LSU is doing what we know they are this year. Winning the game at the box would have been great if they had taken the series.
Yeah, I'm struggling with this Kentucky team because I'm not quite sure what to make. We've talked about how good the rotation is and the pitching staff has been. But the offense was kind of really struggled this year. They had 0 home runs. They had a slugging percentage of 277. Like, that's not really going to get it done for you in SEC play. Pitching staff had 21 walks in 25 innings this past weekend. That also won't get it done for you in SEC play. It's just kind of, I just don't know what to make with them. They're 5-4 in the SEC conference. They're 21-6 overall. I think they can still make the postseason. I think this is a postseason caliber team. Oh, yeah. They've shown that they are. They just got to figure some things out, and maybe they just ran into LSU finally figuring things out on their own. But yeah, Friday night they looked great, but Casey Evans again was struggling with his command. I think he had 5 or 6 walks in that game. And then they kind of ran into the rest of the LSU pitching staff and didn't do too much. I mean, they lost 17-10 in the last game. Like, their pitching staff just absolutely struggled in that game. So I'm not really sure what to make of Kentucky right now. I do, again, think they're a playoff team. Are they going to be at the top of the SEC by the end of the year? I don't know. They might be in the middle of the pack, kind of where they are right now.
I think just to add on real quick to that one, Jared, I think your point about 17-10, Cleaver has been kind of the surprise for me a little bit with Kentucky. Yeah. I think we came into the season thinking like they would have one of the top 1-2s in the country with them and Jackson Jelkin. I mean, he went 2.2 and he had
4 earned.
4 earned, 3 walks. I mean, he's just not having, and not only that, his velo is way down.
Way
Talk
down.
to someone. He's basically pretty much everything he's throwing right now is mid to upper 80s, like not even touching the 9s anymore. So it just feels like he's not having the year that they expected. And so when you put a lot of your chips into that basket of, hey, we'll be real good Friday, Saturday night, when you have to move that Sunday guy up to Saturday and then maybe try to piece things together on a Sunday, that's when you get 17-10. I mean, they went crazy on Gavin Guidry and 1 1/3. I think they had like 6 run earned against him. So I mean, like on like a Sunday, mid-afternoon, I'm sure they were pumped, but it's just they couldn't get any extension from Cleaver. So I think his progression or where he stands will really depend upon whether they'll be kind of that fringe host or if they're going to be pretty much solidified in that 2 seed.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and it's a good baseball team. And Jackson Jelkin has been every part of advertised. Man, this guy's been tremendous. But they need somebody else to step up. And we all thought Cleaver's going to be that guy. Well, he's going to be the guy.
Even Nate Harris.
Yeah, even Harris. Like, yeah, you thought like the weekend rotation for them, you thought this is going to be a legit weekend rotation. It just hasn't been everything except for Jackson Jelkin. Like, I don't want to take anything away from him saying the weekend rotation. He's been tremendous, but the rest of that team has just been kind of okay. Arkansas, number 21. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, it just feels like they're trying to find the piece. Because, I mean, you talk about Jelkin and Harris and Cleaver. Everyone else went for less than 2 innings. So it's kind of like, who can we keep to, like, steady the ship? And it just felt like the ship kept sinking. Now, again, like, part of that is LSU's really good. And they're kind of fighting for their life. I get they've been losing games. LSU has a ton of talent on their team.
They have a ton of
talent. Don't get it confused. Just because they've been losing doesn't mean they don't have talent. So they're kind of that wild animal backed up against the wall. Mm-hmm. And I think it was a combination of trying to find that individual to, take hold of the reins, and then going up against an opponent that was basically like, we can't lose another series at the box.
Yeah, that's definitely how it felt when they were down, early in that game, and you're like, oh boy, is this really going to happen at Alex Box Stadium again? It felt like there was a slight switch that went off on LSU, and they're like, nope, we have to figure out a way to win this, and then we're just going to hit our way into victory. 21 Arkansas, down 12 spots after getting swept at home. They are now 4-5 in SEC play. They are striking out at more than 11 times per game in SEC play. The strikeouts are insane for them right now. Their team average is also 231 in SEC play. The home run numbers, they've given up 14. They've hit 14. They're not doing a lot of the little things. They have less RBIs than teams have played. Everything across the board, other than Nolan Souza, who's been really, really good in SEC play, the rest of this team has really kind of fallen off. Even Ryder Helfrich, who has, the 3 home runs, he's hitting 219, and it's just not there for them. Fielding, they've been great defensively and pretty good pitching-wise. It's not like that's been the issue for them. Hitting-wise, though, striking out 11 times a game right now is not going to do it. They're going to have to find themselves, especially after losing a couple home series already. If you're, they've already played 2 home series, they're 4-5. They're going to start looking around saying, we got to figure something out. And Arkansas is in a hurting way right now. Down 12-21, still in our top 25, though. They did drop out of some top 25s as we have them still here at 21. We think that they have the talent. They just got to figure it out. But 11 strikeouts a game is not going to do it on the offensive side. Coastal Carolina up 4. Will, this team keeps finding ways to win, but to me, they're not impressing me. I did put them back in my top 25 at 25 personally this week, but they're just not impressing the ways to win, but they're sitting atop the Sun Belt.
Yeah, it's really hard to discount a team that starts 9-0 in conference play.
Yeah.
I agree with you. Like, they've not been crazy impressive. I know they beat up on JMU last weekend, but the weekend before we talked about it, they struggled with App State. Like, App State really gave them hell for 3 games and got swept. I thought Marshall looked pretty good for the most part, less the Saturday game. It's a very competitive series. They've got South Alabama this week, who's been solid. They're 5-4. The problem is they don't have Southern Miss on the schedule. In 3 weeks, towards the end of April, they have Texas State, who's on a tear right now. I think that is probably the toughest series they have. They've got South Alabama, Arkansas State, Georgia State, then Texas State. But no USM in there. Like, is it? I don't know. You look up and down the stats, and nothing really jumps out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a ton jumps out. Like, the offense has been okay. Rex Watson has been unreal. Like he's the real source of power. Dean Mijos, talk about a dude that's really like taken a huge jump in the game. The bat to ball has always been really good. Saw a bunch of stuff from their Coastal's analytics team talking about how he's hitting the ball much harder. He's got a 519 slug. It's obviously paying off. He's hitting the crap out of the ball. It's awesome to see a guy like that take such a jump in a different part of a game that he hasn't really played in. And you look at the pitching, and it's like, yeah, okay, you still don't have Cameron Fluke. You're still missing Ryan Lynch.
Hayden Johnson.
Ross Norman has not quite been amazing. I mean, he's not striking out the world. Like you look at the stuff and you're surprised that he only has 25 strikeouts in 35 innings because the stuff is really, really solid. It's been Luke Jones and Darren Horn out of the bullpen for them that have been their best two arms. Darren Horn's been unbelievable. He's got 4 wins only out of the bullpen. Like he's got 4 saves and 4 wins as a bullpen guy in 12 appearances. Like
take the ball, kid.
He really is. Like he's carrying the boats right now. 43 strikeouts in 28 2/3, only 7 walks. A 176 batting average against. I mean, this is not Coastal of last year. And again, it's really hard to repeat that level of success with the style of baseball that Coastal tends to play, or at least what they've transitioned into playing. They used to kind of be like a big bruising team, like we're going to out-hit you. It's kind of gone the other way. And a guy like Blake Barthol has not supplied a ton of power when you're hoping he's going to give you double-digit home runs. So I think they're deserving of a top 25 spot given what they've done in conference play. Having said that, their conference schedule has been rather underwhelming to this point. So it's kind of hard to draw it as like, I'm really curious to see what happens with them the rest of the way. I mean, like legitimately, I could see them going almost, if not completely undefeated in Sun Belt play. Like there's a world where they go undefeated in Sun Belt play. I can't rule that out. They find ways to win games and there's always something to be said for that. I just don't know what to make of them. They're confusing to me. They're kind of like Boston College to me.
Yeah, that's fair.
You look at their Saturday, Sunday guys. They went like 5 innings pitched with like a greater like a 3.0 whip. If you were Marshall and you're saying like, hey, you're basically gonna run the Saturday, Sunday guys out, like you'd be like, you know what, that's great. Like we're gonna win, and it just, I don't know. I'm sorry, it was the Friday, Sunday. You're just going to find yourself like you would expect to win the series. But again, as you said, Will, like they're just finding ways to win. And I think there's a lot of value in that. It's just really hard to like point to it and say like, this is why we're winning. It's more of just a collection of variables.
There's no stat you can point at and be like, oh, that's the reason why they're continuing to win these games. It doesn't make any sense, but they got a good coaching staff. They go out there and they compete, and we've seen it. And here's the thing. If they get Cam Fluke and Hayden Johnson back at the end of this season and they get some time in before regional play, this is not a team that you want at your regional if they don't host. Like this is not a team that you want to see. The offense may not be there, but those 2 pitching studs come back and they haven't thrown all year, they're going to have a lot of juice and wanting to get out there. So impressive. Nonetheless, Coastal continues to win and up 4-20. Number 19 up 4, Jason, is Texas A&M. The Texas A&M team has been kind of all over the board, but they feels like maybe they had the get right series here against Mizzou.
Yeah. I mean, nothing against Mizzou, but I think you're going to say that maybe a lot for teams.
Maybe too many times. Yeah.
Yeah. This Texas A&M team is very underrated. Yes, I get they're 5-4. Yes. Like all those kinds of things, the SEC, I get it. They have, I think, the most depth of like elite talent and a lineup of anyone in the country. Yeah. The question will always be what's going to happen with their starters. Moss was just okay. I think he had like almost a 3 whip and 3 2/3. So I mean he was not elite. They need Sadeo, they need Sims, they need Moss. Like they need those guys to get 4 1/3 to somewhere in like 5 2/3. If they can get all 3 of them to kind of get them to that 5th, get into the 6th, then they can kind of keep it to like those circle of trust relievers, and you don't have to kind of dive deeper into your bullpen where you're talking about like 9+. Because once you start to get into like 9+ for Texas A&M, you start to really see some cracks. Yeah. So I think for them, it's just going to be, how do we score enough runs? Bender Up was phenomenal. They had the SEC Freshman of the Week. Oh, goodness. Who was that? The right fielder. Why am I going crazy? Was it Texas A&M? Who? Maybe I'm thinking of another. I know for some reason I'm going crazy. Maybe that was Texas. Apologies. But no, they've got so much depth on their team that, frankly,
It was Jorian Wilson.
Jordan Wilson.
Okay, thank you. I was about to say I could have sworn it was Texas A&M. I don't know why it just like blanked on me there. I was like, I know he was the right fielder. I know it was for Texas A&M. Why is his name blanking for me? Thank you. So I mean, for me, if I'm a stock individual and a buy low, sell high, I'm absolutely buying Texas A&M here. I think they're way too low here.
You still get Sorrell, Hakopian, and Grahovic. Like that is a brutal 1, 2, 3 guys in a lineup, and they're going to win you a lot of baseball games. If the pitching can figure it out and they can go a little deeper into games, watch out. I'm with you. I like this Texas A&M team.
I mean, they hit what 11 home runs against Missouri this weekend, something like that. They can mash. So Bender up. I mean, the whole group they can hit.
Yeah, and if Bear Harrison gets going too, watch out. This team is there's a huge highlight for this team. I like it. Number 18, Florida. Jason, I'm going to go with you there, because this kind of feels like another one of those teams that kind of has had its ups and downs, but altogether, there's a lot of talent there, Florida.
Yeah, I think the hitting is just going to be the question. I mean, there's a real point where it almost looked like they could have gotten no hit like a couple of games in a row in the SEC, which is just pretty wild to say. And so, like, coming into this, I think, if I'm being perfectly transparent, I think a little bit of this is I think Arkansas is really struggling. Like, don't get me wrong. I think this was very impressive of Florida. It felt like every time that Arkansas was like making a punch, Florida countered with a 1-2. So for me, like they've got some really solid pitching. Aiden King looked incredible. Peterson was hitting 100. I mean, they were. It felt like every other pitcher they were throwing out there was 96 plus. The depth that they have in terms of kind of those top 8 pitchers, they're all MLB arms, all of them. I mean, it's mid 90s with nasty 90-mile-per-hour sliders, pretty much all of them. Yeah. So if they can get the Brendan Lawson, which they're getting right now, if they can get that consistently. I mean, you even had Carson Bowen, the TCU
Bowen was
transfer
huge this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas, Fayetteville never wants to see Carson Bowen ever again. He also destroyed them when he was a Horned Frog, like the 23 regional, 22 regional. I can't remember what it was when he was a true freshman. So, I mean, if they can get Blake Sear had a great weekend, above a 1,200 OPS. So, I mean, kind of up and down, you're like, okay, this was a pretty like complete week. But I think what they did the best was every time it felt like Arkansas maybe like had momentum, they're like, no, you don't have momentum. So you like where they're at. They're 6-3, 2 sweeps and 1 swept. So a very odd team right now. And again, I mean, I think they've got Ole Miss coming up. That's going to be a really unique series because I think Ole Miss is better than where they're at. And I think Florida is kind of, maybe they're not peaking, but I think they're showing that they have some dominance. And so it's going to be kind of one of those fork in the roads. Like, is it going to be, okay, Ole Miss is better than we thought they were? Or is it going to be, okay, maybe Florida is who we thought they were? Like, which one is it going to be?
Yeah, I can't think it can't be understated that getting Blake Sear and Cade Curlin back in the same weekend made a big difference for this team. Like, just deepens the lineup and gives it not all to be on Lawson to have to be everything and Kyle Jones to be everything. Like, those two guys weren't themselves. They weren't perfect this weekend, but having Sear and Ethan Serwick, he came up and stepped up huge too in that Sunday game. Like, there was some pieces of this Florida team that looked a lot better offensively than they have all year. Arizona State at 17, down 1, Jared. Tough series loss at home when this team felt like they could have taken control of the Big 12, even though UCF would be a top either way. But a very good Arizona State team. If they can find a weekend rotation, watch out.
Yeah, I mean, they have a get right weekend this weekend. They got Arizona out. They got to go down to Tucson for that.
Still rivalry.
Yeah.
That's
so
crazy to say, but you're right. Yeah. I think you're right.
And what really annoys me about this series is they play 2 midweeks against Arizona as well for the Territorial Cup. It was like, why don't you just make the 3-game series on the weekend of the Territorial Cup?
Clemson plays Wake Forest. Doesn't Clemson play Wake Forest tomorrow?
Yep,
like,
Clemson plays Wake Forest this week too.
What are these really weird scheduling?
Duke plays 2 midweek games against North Carolina that are technically non-con games too.
So
Why?
continue.
That makes no sense. Like, why are you making your Territorial Cup?
RPI. That's all you need to know. RPI.
Making your Territorial Cup a midweek game. Like, okay. Is that really?
Yeah, not even the best arms.
Yeah. But no, I mean, we kind of talked about it earlier about Arizona State. Like you mentioned, Mark, they got to find a rotation outside of Cole Garland. Cole Kleckler, like he's shown flashes, has been great, but he also hasn't been good. He didn't pitch very well against West Virginia in this series. So he's been up and down. And so I think you expect a little bit more out of him on that Sunday roll. And so, yeah, I think it's tough. Like the offense, is going to mash, but if they run into a pitching staff that's going to be able to kind of tamp down that offense, they need some arms that can do the same for them. And so they're struggling to find that right now. I think if you get Overbay back into the bullpen, he can kind of go into that elite role that he was in before and try to find somebody else, maybe bump up a Tuesday guy and see what they can do in the rotation. But yeah, until they find that, I think it's going to be real tough.
Question
they just got to find another arm.
Yeah.
Was that
Hairston walked twice? At what point our teams just throw up the 4? Like kind of the Caglione kind of like it's like, you know what, just don't let this guy be like, just put this guy on base.
They lit off the game with the home run.
Yeah.
It's like,
I mean,
that was
I think it's getting to the point where if he's leading off an inning, that's the only time I'm throwing this guy strikes. Otherwise, I'm letting him swing away.
They scored 27 runs and like he drove in 10 of those. Like
he was responsible for more than a third of their runs. Yeah.
His slug was 1.7. His slug. So basically, every time he had like an at bat, he was getting to second.
He was averaging a double basically.
Yeah.
Per at bat, not per hit, guys. That was per at bat, right? Like that's insanity.
Yes.
Just don't pitch to Landon, don't pitch to Nunu, and you'll probably be fine.
Yeah, if you're not pitching those 2 guys, you actually would be shutting down this Arizona State team. Like the rest of it has been okay, but they have some pieces. I think Toigo is going to be good. I think Smaldini.
Yeah, the offense is good.
Pieces. Yeah,
I was making a joke there. Like that. Like with Toigo, Garrett Michel, it's been hitting well. Dominic Smaldino, like this is a good lineup.
Yeah, but again, if it was no Harrison, like. Yeah, I probably am in that same package there. Number 16, Virginia, down 6, Will. This team, like, goes to BC. They're thinking they're hot on themselves. They're feeling really good about themselves, and they lose the series. We knew what their issues were on Sunday, but that's the game they won.
Yeah, this is a bizarre series. Almost half of their losses this year are double digits. Now, granted, they only have 7 losses this year. 3 of those losses are by double digits. They've been a team that's been so good at times. I mean, we saw what they did against North Carolina. That is what this team can absolutely be through the rest of the season. They have Florida State next weekend. I know Florida State's, playing without a leg, if you will, without Myles Bailey, but this is a huge series for them. They're at home. This is a really important series, I think, for both teams. What is Florida State without Myles Bailey? Like, can they compete without him? What is this lineup without, which I absolutely think this lineup is going to be fine without him. It's not going to be the high ceiling maybe that you would have with Myles Bailey, but can they continue to compete without him? And can Virginia do what they did against North Carolina again? Like, can they compete against really good pitching? Wes Mendez has been unbelievable for them. I think it's all about the pitching for Virginia. Like, what is this pitching staff going to be against that Florida State lineup?
It's going to be interesting. That's to say the least. I mean, I think that Virginia feels like they need to get 2 games here. Florida State would feel really good about themselves getting 2. So I think this is a very important series for both these. But I feel that Virginia has more pressure on them by a long ways than Florida State, especially with the injury. Florida State probably can get some excuses to be not themselves this weekend at a very tough ballpark they're playing at Dish. Like I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough for me to think that Virginia, because they're pitching woes, like if they can figure it out, it doesn't feel like it's a great one though to have Florida State coming to your park and trying to win those games.
Yeah, I think Florida State less Myles Bailey is still a more complete team than Virginia is. And we've seen Virginia's offense be really good against high level pitching, but quite frankly, they didn't really show up against BC. Like they struggled to score runs in that series across the board, even in their win. I don't foresee it going well against Wes Mendez and Trey Beard. Now, Florida State's bullpen, I think if there's any holes in the armor, it's Florida State's bullpen, albeit it's been very solid this season. It's going to be a really fun series. You hate to see them without Myles Bailey because they would just add another layer to it. It's just going to how the rest of the season's going to be. But man, this is a big series for Virginia to say, like, we're going to be okay. We can figure out the pitching stuff. Or are they not a top 25 team? Are they that, 25 to 40 range, which I think a lot of teams fall into?
I agree with that. I can see that. There's a lot of teams, I think, like I've said in the pregame shows, like there's teams 6 through 50 could all be interjoined in there at any point. And I'd feel okay with a lot of them in that spot. So at least 6 through 40 would be very equal to me through a more large portion of this. Number 15, Jason, is Auburn. They're down 10. Tough series that, back-to-back series losses now for them, which feels kind of weird.
Yeah, add on to what Will would have said. If I was a betting man, I would have lost some money on this, because if someone have said, hey, are they going to be swept by Alabama? I would have been like, no, that's crazy. It's not that Alabama isn't good. It's because Auburn's pitching has been that good. So, they finally got to see that Marciano. I mean, he still went 5 2/3 with, 2 earned runs, but the Ks weren't really there as much this weekend. I think they only had he only had 5 Ks and like the 5.2, so below, that 9 K per 9, which, is kind of like that baseline of like a good outing. So I think this one was a confusion, but I'm also just going to call it a blip on the radar. I think this Auburn team is really, really good. So I don't think I would sit here and say, oh, they got swept by Alabama, therefore they're not as good as we expected. I think it's the opposite. I think, the first game 11-1, like it wasn't close, but games 2 and game 3, those were coin flips. So it's one of the things where I think you throw away the tape, you have a good practice and you move on. But I wouldn't be lowering the expectations whatsoever if I was Auburn.
No, and again, an Alabama team that's finally healthy and at home, and it's a rivalry, it's not great to get the sweep, but again, I think I'm with you. I think that this Auburn team is still very, very good.
Yeah.
And they get Magical back.
Good.
And Magical's going to be back in hitting them. I mean, that's a 400 hitter with 20 bombs from last year, and they get him back in the lineup, and that's only going to help them the more at-bats he gets through the season. Oklahoma here at number, what do I have them at? 14? I lost my spot here. There it goes. Yep. At 14, we got Oklahoma. They're down 6. Getting swept by Texas in a rivalry, not the end of the world. But to me, when I looked at it overall, it's like the offense, 7 runs total in all 3 games. Like, it seems like it was struggling. Even in their last series win against LSU, they only scored 8 runs in those 2 wins. They only scored 9 runs total in that series. So now we know what they have on the pitching side. It's really good. They held Texas down. They've had 2 extra inning losses at Texas. The pitching staff's been good. Yeah, and Cam Johnson looked good again this week. Like, he finally got that swagger back a little bit. He looked pretty good. LJ McCurious, we know what he's been. But there's the lack of offense really has big concerns for me, and I don't see it getting a lot easier. They got to play Alabama this week. Like, that's not easy with how well Alabama's been playing. And the fact is Alabama's offense has been on fire, and Faye's been really good for them on Friday. I don't really love that. They got Vanderbilt still on the road. They got Mizzou coming up. They got Auburn. Like, the SEC schedule is not easy. And I think that Oklahoma's going to have some wake-up calls here coming. I think that the offense just isn't where it needs to be. Like, it was hot to start the season. I don't think it's there. I think that they have elite pitching. I'm fine with saying that they have elite pitching, but I have some major concerns on the offensive side, and they're just not putting together the best at-bats and putting in those runs when they need to. Leaving too many guys on base and really not doing the little things to get these guys across like a Skip Johnson team does. They usually steal bases, put the ball in play. They haven't been able to do that against these teams. They need to do that more if they want to be consistent and win some of these baseball games. So big concerns there for me.
Generally one thing I like to look at when I'm looking over a lot of these is kind of your plus minus from your K to walk. They were minus 25 in K to walk. They walked 6 times. They struck out 31 times.
Mm-hmm.
And then they gave up 26 walks. So you're talking about just bad at bats. And honestly, this is one of the things that's really plaguing Oklahoma. They're walking the farm. When I look back on this, kind of from I almost wonder how Texas didn't win by more. I think would be the best way for me to put it. I think Oklahoma is kind of in a weird spot where I think they're clearly they're 19-8. They're in that muck right now of the SEC. That's that 4-5 kind of 6-3 range where it feels like anyone could be swept or get swept or whatever. But I think for me it's the pitching that's the most concerning because they're walking they're walking. I mean, I don't like how much they're striking out, but 26 walks, that's crazy. I mean the fact that Texas only scored 23 runs, I'd be intrigued to see how many of them were off of the walk, because that's just an incredible amount of walks.
And a lot of it was bullpen issues too. The bullpen gave up way too many free base for the guys.
Like Bowden had like 6 and 1 2/3. Like, I mean, it's kind of the difference right now between Oklahoma and Texas, because Texas, like, they've been struggling with their bullpen. They didn't really use them. They used only 6 pitchers.
That's the difference.
They had to go to literally the back end of their bullpen to try to, because again, every time it's like, hey, just stop walking people. It's like, okay, well, if this guy wasn't able to, let's bring in another one.
Yeah. Number 13, West Virginia, up 4, deservingly so. Like, they were very close with Arizona State. They take that series at Arizona State, at Phoenix Municipal. This team just seems more and more solid every single week we look at them. Like, they get different people performing every week. They rotate in catchers and pitchers, and it does seems like whoever they put out there is stepping up and performing. They don't hit a lot of home runs, and if you don't hit a lot of home runs, though, that doesn't necessarily slump.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team with still a 921 OPS. 9 of their 10 qualified hitters have over 15 RBI this season. I mean, this is like a complete effort kind of team, and it's super fun to watch. I mean, even with the lack of home runs, I mean, they didn't have a crazy amount of pop last year. Had a couple of guys that could really put the ball out of the yard, but in terms of guys that can play all over the place, you're absolutely right. I mean, Gavin Kelly is a guy that can absolutely glove it anywhere. He's hitting .431 with a 1.2 OPS. Paul Schoenfeld is like the unsung star of this lineup right now that feels like nobody's talking about. He's got a near 1.2 OPS. But really, it's the pitching side has been unreal. Max Yell has been the guy. Like, even with the ups and downs of Montesa, Max Yell has been unbelievable. 48 strikeouts in 39 innings so far. 5-0 in 7 starts. A sub-1 WHIP, a 1.38 ERA, a sub-200 batting average against. I mean, this is a pitching staff that's holding opposing teams to 219 batting average. That's really good. I mean, they were just on the road against a very good Arizona State lineup, and they're going to face another very good UCF offense. And I think this pitching staff is more than equipped to handle that. It's people and programs, right? It seems like this is what Steve Sabins is going to do year in and year out. It really does. A huge believer in what he is building over there, and a huge believer in what they're pouring into their baseball program. And I know coming into the season, we got a lot of heat from Mountaineer fans asking why we weren't as high in on them. It's like, well, when you bring in a bunch of D2 transfers, it's really hard to figure out what those guys are going to be. The development of this program is genuinely top notch. I mean, they're not bringing in, the guys that throw in 100. And it's like, all right, well, now we have this kid that throws 100. Let's figure out how to get him in the zone. They're bringing in guys from different divisions. They're bringing in guys that did not get a lot of love at lower levels at the Division I landscape. And they're building an absolute powerhouse in Morgantown right now.
Yeah, and they're getting lots of performance from different guys. 250 strikeouts to 96 walks is pretty good for a staff. It's not the best, but it's really good enough to what they've been doing. They're not a huge strikeout team, but they're also not walking a ton of teams. 96 walks is not a lot of walks to give up. And guys like Reese Bassinger coming out of the bullpen, like, they have dudes that have really stepped up for them in these clutch situations and gone out and got a lot of outs. And I like where they're at. I think that this team just continues to find ways to win. Barry Steve Stevens, like, they play good defense. They really run the bases well. They scored on a single to right center field from first. Like, that was insanity to me to watch that. They stole home. Like, they do these weird things in college baseball that teams don't do nowadays without hitting the long ball, and they're winning baseball games. So hats off to everything that West Virginia is doing right now. Number 12, Southern Miss, up 1. Jason, they're finding themselves, I think, 4 games back now in Sun Belt play, but they have a huge resume that came into Sun Belt turn.
Yeah, I feel like I'm probably not the best person to talk on Southern Miss, if I'm being perfectly frank, because my feel for Southern Miss is just not as strong as other. I mean, they had to come back in the Friday night game against App State. Didn't they score
Yep.
4 in the 8th? I mean, it feels like every other weekend, it's just kind of seeing them struggle and then coming back and winning it. And there's a lot to be said about a team that comes back and win the game. And you can't ever stick your nose up at winning a series, but 5-4 in the Sun Belt is 5-4 in the Sun Belt. Now the Sun Belt is very good. I'm not trying to diminish the Sun Belt whatsoever, but you can't win just midweek games. They have done such a good job of scheduling effectively. I mean, they've got Southeast Louisiana coming up again. I think it's going to be in Hattiesburg this week, and that's going to be another Q2, Q3 game. Like, they do a phenomenal job of making 80-90% of their midweeks be kind of those resume boosters, and it shows in their RPI. They always have a really good RPI because they schedule well. Them and Oregon State do a phenomenal job. They recognize the formula, they take the formula, they push forward. They've got some phenomenal players. Kyle Morrison has been phenomenal. Sundstrom has continued to be phenomenal. But when I look at them as an overall painting, sometimes I don't know if I've got a good view of kind of what the artist is trying to drive. I like them as a team because clearly they're winning. I mean, you love the fact that they look at their non-con and they basically say whoever wants to play us, come play us. You have to love that. But it's just hard for me to say this is a top 15 team when they go 1-2 to Arkansas State, or this is a top 15 team when really more often than not they would have lost this series 1-2 to App State, which they didn't. Again, you have to. They won.
They did win.
You have to give them the wins, but it's kind of what are you going to do if that's we're talking about Kentucky as a potential 2 seed? What if it's Kentucky that's on that weekend opponent rather than an App State? So I guess that's kind of where almost getting into kind of of those fringe teams. Are those fringe teams really good? And actually, hey, Kentucky's just on the same level as App State, and it doesn't matter. They won the series; they're good. Or do you kind of have to try to qualify the wins and say it's 5-4 in the Sun Belt? Where do we put you? That's why it's a little bit of a struggle for me, because when they've got really good pitching, their hitting is not great. They're doing just average in the Sun Belt, but they've dominated the non-con. It almost feels like every time I try to give them a plus, I see a minus. So that's why I struggle with Southern Miss.
I'm with you. I've had a hard time because I said, hey, sometimes this team looks like a top 10 team, and then other games they look like they're not in the top 100. And they're just some big question marks on offense for me. I think that they compete, and I think that's one of the big things you have to take away is that Strainer just knows how to get these guys to compete, and they go out and win baseball games, and it's so hard to take things away when you win a weekend series. But when you look around and they're 5-4 in Sun Belt play, at some point you're gonna have to start questioning that if they are out of contention for winning the Sun Belt regular conference, at some point that's going to come back and get them. And I think that maybe it knocks them out of being a host team.
I think they have to sweep Old Dominion this week. I mean, I don't see a way that you can be 7-5 and want to. I mean, again, their RPI is good. I think they're number 3 in the RPI right now. I can't remember specifically. So
they were top 5 last I checked. Yeah.
9, somewhere in that ballpark. It's they're good, and so I think they just have to try to stay in that top 15 RPI, because if they don't, then I think it's going to give the committee kind of that ammunition they need to say, okay, you're not going to be that 16 seed. You're going to be the 17 or the 18 that goes to the 16 or the 15.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of things working against them unless they start sweeping some series in the Sun Belt,
Yeah,
I think.
exactly.
Jared, number 11, Alabama, up 14. I talked about it. You talked about it. We talked to Coach, and he said, hey, we're just not healthy. They're healthy, and my goodness, they are hitting, and they are doing all the things right.
The starting rotation, man. I think that was the big story for them against
Yeah.
this Auburn team. Tyler Fay, 5 innings, 1 earned, 1 hit, 5 Ks. Zane Adams, 6 1/3, 1 earned, 4 hits, 8 Ks. Miles Upchurch, 4 1/3, 1 earned, 1 hit, 4 Ks. You get 3 earned runs, 17 Ks, and in over 15 2/3 innings, you're going to win a series. That's just going to happen. And like you said, the offense is starting to kind of pull it together. Justin LeBron, of course, is doing Justin LeBron things, but Brady Nail, again, super productive this weekend. Jason Torres, super productive. Luke Vaughn has absolutely crushed the ball over the weekend. So this team's just been absolutely impressive. We had them, I think, ranked all season long, except for maybe 1 or 2 weeks. We had them preseason ranked, and they kind of tapered off a little bit, and now they're just back to being red hot again.
Yeah, it's the talents there, and we kind of knew what this team was going to be. But you're right. Like the Zane Adams start now, that's back-to-back pretty good ones for him. That's really good. And we know what Miles Upchurch has been for them on Sundays. If that's the performances they're going to get in SEC play, it puts them in a conversation to win every single weekend. That's where they got to be. And again, Fowler being healthy, they're just going the right direction. Vaughn, like these guys are actually hitting the baseball and playing the game that we knew they could. A lot of protection around Justin LeBron, who's been good, but not really a superstar in SEC play. If they can get him going in SEC play, watch out. You know, the ceiling for them is winning this thing. Like that's still a possibility that they can go out and win the SEC regular season title. That's how good this team has.
It's going to come down to that rotation, I think. As long as they can continue doing that, that's going to be the key for them.
Love it.
For me, just to add on to Alabama, they feel like a team that knows their identity. I feel like we're kind of in a point of the season that some teams are trying to figure out who they are. Alabama, they hit 9 guys. No one else hit. It was just 9 guys. And then they had 5 guys that threw like 90% of their innings. So it's kind of like they have their 14 and they're like, these are our guys and we're going to go with our guys and that's going to be good enough. So I think when you have those 14 to 15 players that you say this is our identity, that's when you can really start to go on a roll.
Yep. I love it. And they're doing that. And I can't wait for more of these. Like I said, they got a big series here coming up this weekend. And I think it's going to be big for them in Oklahoma. I think that's a big series between these two teams. Oregon is up to number 10, 4 up. Listen, when you got Cal Scolari, one of the best pitchers in the country, going for you on Sundays, and Will Sanford, how much he went up just toe-to-toe with Jackson Flora on Friday night saying, hey, I'm just as good. This guy's going to be climbing draft boards for the 2027. Like Will Sanford is a real talented arm. He's just been getting better every single weekend. Now they did drop the Saturday game, but they went down. They threw a 1-hitter in the midweek against UC San Diego. Like the pitching staff for Oregon is legit, and they have shown it all season long. If people are not paid enough attention to them on weekends, they're very, very talented. They're right up there in Big Ten play. They're right up there with anybody else you want to put them up against. Their weekend rotation is so good. They have enough offense, and they haven't even gotten all of the offensive weaponry from guys like Dominic Hellman and Maddox Maloney. Like those two guys have been just pretty average for them so far. If those guys get going, this is one of the top 10 teams, no doubt, for the rest of the season. They have so much talent there. Jax Jimenez has been unbelievable. He's been really, really good for them and stepping into that role. Jack Brooks, in his limited time, when he gets out there, he makes performances. Ryan Cooney has been maybe the best second baseman in the country. You can say Chris Rembert there, but guess what? Ryan Cooney's been right there, has been one of the best second basemen in the country for the Oregon Ducks. And I like where they're going. And they got freshman Brayton, Angel Laya. This guy is not a freshman. If you guys ever see him, big kid. He's not super like heavy, but he's tall. He's lanky. He hits the ball well. He hits home runs. Like plays a great outfield. I like where they're at. I love the Oregon Duck team. I think Coach Waz has this team going the right direction. Again, Jason, like you said, they're a team that kind of knows their identity. We're going to go out, pitch, and play tremendous defense, and that's what Oregon has done all season long, and they continue to do it. Up 4 to number 10 here, as 3 Big Ten teams are sitting in our top 10, where we give them a hard time and say, hey, maybe this conference isn't it. There's 3 of them in the top 10 here. USC here at number 9. Will up 2 for USC. They did lose the midweek, and they lost a game on the weekend to Maryland, but those conditions weren't exactly favorable.
Yeah, agreed. And in the Thursday show, you and I talked about this series, and I said, quote, unquote, this is an ERA raising series for USC. Having to play in Maryland, I mean, that place is a bandbox. And for what it's worth, it did raise the ERA to a team 2.64.
Oh, God.
Oh, boy, look out.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good series win. It was nice to see USC score a bunch of runs, because I think if we had any questions about this team, it was can they score? And now I don't think Maryland's pitching staff is really up to snuff. But it was still good to see them score a bunch of runs against a team that they should score a bunch of runs against. I know Jared got eyes on Mason Edwards on Friday. He is just unbelievable. I know the control in the rain was a little bit shoddy, but man, this rotation is just so freaking good, man. I mean, it's unbelievable what they're doing as pitching staff. 171 batting average against.
Yeah.
This is a team that has only allowed 75 earned runs this season in 255 innings. The offense has been really solid. I mean, you look at Govil, Edwards, and Johnson, they've been unreal. The hitting side's coming around. I mean, they're hitting 271 as a team. Like, I think, they're starting to figure things out offensively. Now the 837 OPS doesn't jump off the page. But Maximo Martinez has been really solid for them, a 519 slug. He's kind of been Mr. Do-It-All for them, walking more than he's striking out as well, which you love to see. Them as a team are right there, 135 walks to 187 strikeouts. I mean, that's a pretty good ratio, when you're approaching that 1-to-1. They have the series of the entire Big Ten season right now. I think, with all things considered, this is the series that everyone should be watching. USC against UCLA. This is, talk about a renewed rivalry. And they have UC Santa Barbara in the midweek. So it's not like they have, a slouch in the midweek. You've got a good opportunity to go get a win against a very solid program. And then you gear up for the biggest series of their season, in my opinion. I think this is it premature to say that this is for the Big Ten? I mean, I really think it is. Like, I think who wins this series ends up winning the Big Ten.
It puts them in a good spot because they're still got to beat Oregon.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
like whoever wins this one between those two teams is still gonna have to go beat Oregon, and likewise for Oregon, where they got to play both those teams still too. So yeah, I'm with you though. It's a tremendous. I can't wait for the Thursday show when we start breaking down some of these. I don't even know if we're gonna talk about midweek games. I'm gonna be so excited for the weekend series, but so much good stuff going on here. USC, big, good to see them up to again. Very talented team here, and I think the biggest thing for them, Stank knows what they are. They want to be a pitching and defensive team. They're gonna go for enough runs, and being able to play games at their home ballpark has just made a world of difference after 2 years of being on the road. They just are happy to be home. They still don't even have their own facilities yet. It's just the ballpark. Like, they're still finishing up the facilities. They're still finishing up their locker rooms and stuff, but they are just happy to be at home. And I love that they have a home ballpark there in Rod Data Field. UNC number 8 here, up 4. Jason, that team looked very complete this week. Now, we've had some question marks on the offense. They showed up and beat a top 25 Notre Dame team.
Yeah, Jack Riddell for Notre Dame still did Jack Riddell stuff. So I mean,
so good.
10 Ks, 1 walk. So I mean, they went up against a Goliath, and they took some punches and they won that game. So and not only did they they won it pretty handily. So it's impressive to see what North Carolina did for a really hot Notre Dame team. I really like Schaffner. He was the shortstop that came from North Dakota. There were a lot of teams that were after him. He had that Sunday leadoff bomb for them. I mean, they've got a lot of really unique pieces. Cooper Nicholson had a phenomenal weekend. I think they're set up really, really well in the ACC. They've got Boston College coming up next week, which is going to be a super interesting series because, again, almost to what we were talking about with Ole Miss and Florida, it's like that, which way you're going to go, left or right. I feel like this is going to be the exact same thing as Boston College, really that kind of, mid 60s to 75th percentile hitting and pitching team, or are they actually for real in numbers, or is North Carolina actually for real? And now we can look at DeCaro and look at them and say okay, these are going to be the guys that go in there and just kill it. Because DeCaro was, again, phenomenal. In a season in which everyone is walking everyone, he went 9 Ks and 0 walks. So this was one of the cleaner weekends for them. 34 Ks as a staff, only 7 walks. That's something you love to see. That's winning baseball. That's not beating yourself. That's going up there and making sure that the opponent beats you. So really just a lot of really lovely things to say about them in terms of how the weekend went, especially given how hot Notre Dame was coming into the weekend.
Yeah, and talking to Coach Forbes, I wanted to talk so much about the weekend rotation. He's like, yeah, we know what we have there, but you're going to be surprised by the guys we have on the left side of the infield in Schaffner and Nicholson. Yeah. Those 2 guys performed this weekend. And if they continue to do so, they can help carry this team to a lot of victories. I like where UNC is. I think you nailed it there, Jason. Number 7, Oregon State, up 8. Huge jump for them. They played really well, right? They go down and they beat USC, USC's first ever loss at home in their new ballpark. And then they just crush over the weekend. I have a stat for you guys, and I shared it earlier on Twitter. 54 strikeouts for this pitching staff out of 81 outs.
That's not bad.
2/3 of the outs come from strikeouts. 54. They dropped Mercer's team average by 19 points. And this is a Mercer team that rakes. If you guys have not watched college baseball, if you have not paid attention, this Mercer team breaks. I think every single person in their lineup has more than 5 home runs. This team goes out there and hits the cover off the ball. Titan Kamana, he's gone out there. He's hitting 481 going into the series against Oregon State, and they shut him down a little bit. Now, he still had a home run and a double. But listen, Oregon State looked like the part of a top 10 team. They looked like the top 10 team we talked about in the preseason. They looked like the top 10 team that we thought about from last year, coming back with all this pitching. Ethan Kleinschmidt, huge day, right? He goes out there, gives up 2 solo jacks, but other than that, he was lights out. Dax Whitney, we know what we're getting from him on Friday. The guy is tremendous. He's an unbelievable pitching talent. And then Segura goes out and spins a gym on Sunday, like holding this Mercer team to 1 run. Unbelievable talent. If they get guys like Zach Edwards going, who ended up getting the win on that Friday night game, like, look out, because this team has huge potential. They found themselves a little bit different offensive lineup. They put out some freshmen. They've been going out there and getting some new guys opportunities, and those freshmen have really stepped up. Guys like Ethan Porter have been unbelievable. Like, this team, the talent level is there. I think that this team's going to continue to rise. I think 7's a good spot for them. And with the road series and games they have coming up, like they're going to Beaumont this weekend playing Lamar. Good test for them to go down there and play this one. So I'm excited. I think Oregon State at 7 is fair when we look at them here. Number 6, Florida State. Jared, we've talked a lot about this team, but I'm going to lead into this one here. Can they stay a top 10 team? And we know what they have talent-wise. I said so many times that I think this is one of the best lineups in college baseball. I still think it's right there, even though mine's their superstar.
Yeah, I mean, I think they can. They have a lineup that's absolutely stacked. Braden Dowd, Hunter Carnes, Cal Fisher. Like, I do think they have the pieces that can keep them in the top 10 for the rest of the year. I think maybe you see the offensive take somewhat of a step back, but I think there are guys on this team that will step up to kind of try to fill that role. Pitching staff, I mean, is, again, we talked about like Florida State in the preseason being such a great hitting team, and the pitching staff, I think, has been more of a surprise. Wes Mendez has been just every bit of a Friday night ace. Goes 6 2/3 this inning, 12 strikeouts, no runs. He's trying to claim the top lefty spot in the 2026 MLB draft. It's like him, Mason Edwards, and Cole Garland right now. And I think Mendez and Edwards are kind of battling back and forth right now. I think Edwards has got the lead, but Mendez is right up there with him. We kind of talked about last year where the numbers weren't great. He kind of tailored off at the end of the year last year, dominant to start the year. But if he can sustain this all year long for FSU, I think this is going to be huge. The biggest shocks for me on Florida State were Trey Beard and Bryson Moore gave up 6 earned and 7 earned back to back. That's kind of where some of the concern comes for me. I do think this Duke team is better than we kind of give them credit for. I know they're 18-12, 5-7 in conference. They have a Friday night ace in Aiden Weaver. And this lineup kind of just bangs. Like, Duke has been pretty good offensively. And I think they're kind of a middle of the pack, middle of the tier ACC team, but they really gave it to the Florida State pitching staff, which was super impressive. So I think it's more of a testament to kind of how good Duke is, and then my concerns about Florida State, because they still wound up, even in a Trey Beard game where he gave up 6 earned, they still wound up pulling off that win. So I'm still really high on this FSU team.
Yeah, I mean, I've been high on them. I picked them to be my national champion, and I still think that they're an Omaha-bound team. They just have so many good pieces, and I really like this Florida State squad. And I think Link Jarrett knows how to get there. He knows how to get his guys to compete, and I don't think while it's tragic to lose that kind of superstar, at the same time, they're going to continue to play. Everybody kind of knows when you play the sport, things happen, and I think Link's going to have his guys ready.
Yeah.
Georgia, number 5 here, down 2. Jason, down 2, but maybe not even their own fault. Like the rest of these teams that jumped them are really, really good also.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they dropped. I mean, I get it. They lost to Kennesaw State. Like, it is what it is.
Kennesaw State rakes.
Yeah, Kennesaw State's good. And again, I know people are gonna shit themselves, but it's a midweek. Like they're gonna pitch 8 to 10 guys. Like, they're not gonna pitch their best players. Georgia goes 30 deep, so they've got to bring in their 15th transfer to make sure he gets 20 ABs. So he's going to play on a midweek game. So I think you're just going to have different games, and it's one of those things where you can't really feel for it. Daniel Jackson continues to probably be the best hitter in college baseball, which is just absolutely insane. Again, 6 for 11, above a 1,600 OPS. Volchko is continuing to be who they were hoping he would be out of the portal, 6 2/3, a 3 whip or 3 FIP, 1.6 whip. So I mean, he's doing what they're supposed to be doing. You don't like seeing Vigu. That one was a surprise. I mean, going only 2 1/3, giving up 3 earned runs, and not only that, but 6 walks. Again, just stop hurting yourselves. And I think that's why he didn't last. It was basically listen, we've got the depth. You can't hurt us. We're gonna score 8 runs a game. We can't give the opponent 4 runs off of walks. So that for me, this team is elite. Their RPI is jacked up. They're 45. I think they're in the 40s in RPI right now. Again, it's mostly due to strength of schedule. Strength of schedule is also jacked up right now. I don't know when it's going to actually get back to normal. I honestly thought it would have gotten back to normal by now, since we're now 3 weeks into conference play around. I mean, I would know some are 4 weeks in. So I don't know if this is kind of that impact of going into conference play, having some super jacked up RPIs where it's Tennessee just had 3 losses at Vanderbilt or
at
whatever
Vanderbilt in conference losses on the road.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't even. These were barely Q1 games for South Carolina. So I mean, it's some really weird stuff right now, and I don't know when it's going to normalize, but I have to feel like it will soon. This team, their ceiling is number 1. I would say their floor is maybe 12 now. I think they're legit.
Yeah, it feels like Wes Johnson finally has a pitching staff that we've kind of just been waiting for his entirety here at Georgia.
Yep.
And this team feels like, hey, this is a team that's Omaha bound. Doesn't matter what happens here for the next, 8 weeks. It feels like this is a team that's going to figure out a way to get there. That's that much talent. Somebody's just going to continue to step up for them.
Yep.
Number 4, Mississippi State. And I think this is probably one of the reasons why we had to drop Georgia down is because they've been so good in this last stretch here. Will, no McPherson, no problem. They go and beat Hunter Elliott at Swayze. They go in and beat their in-state rival and do it pretty handily without their Friday night ace.
Yeah, this was a big statement week for Mississippi State. It was a big kick-ass, take names kind of week for them. 10 running Southern Miss in the midweek after losing at their place, and then you go to Swayze and take care of business in Oxford. And we've talked about the depth of Georgia. I would argue that Mississippi State is just as, if not deeper than that Georgia team. I mean, some of the guys' stats on the bench are unbelievable. You have Jacob Parker with a near 1.2 OPS in 50-plus at-bats. He's not a consistent starter. Joan James has over a 1 OPS in 30-plus at-bats. I mean, this team is just unbelievable. And a guy like Bryce Chance, who's leading the charge on offense in terms of average, he's got 18 runs driven in. I mean, when you look up and down the lineup, and it's like Ace Reese is playing a huge role. I mean, he's the superstar of this team, but he's 5th on the team in batting average. You're like, all right, this team is going to mash. A guy like Ryder Woodson, who got off to a really slow start, he's got a 930 OPS, which is huge. I mean, he's a guy that Oak talked about in Arlington. We've just been waiting to get going. The data says that he's hitting the cover off the baseball and nothing's showing for it. Now he's got 20 RBIs, 4 home runs, over a 900 OPS. And, the pitching side is just as good. Ryan McPherson this weekend. Palinkas is ridiculous right now. 56 strikeouts over 39 and 2/3 innings. Sub-1 whip, sub-1 ERA, sub-200 batting average. Duke Stone has been really, really good for them, too, in that Sunday spot when they do have McPherson. I mean, this is just about as complete of a team as it gets right now. Yeah. They, in the same vein that Jason just talked about Georgia, and ceiling number 1, floor 10. I mean, really, this team is unbelievable across the board what they've been able to accomplish and what they do on both sides of the ball.
It's a really talented team, and they just can put. It feels like no matter who Coach Oak puts in, like they perform. It's like, oh, I need a Friday night guy. You want to go? Yeah, I'll go, coach. And then they go out and win the baseball game. It's like, this is just ridiculous. They can just go pull any name out from the bench too. You're like, hey, I need a pinch hitter. Oh, I can press the right button and this guy's going to go hit a bomb for me. Like, this Mississippi State team is scary.
Chone comes in. You're talking about it. 1AB triple. It's good production off the bench.
It's ridiculous. It's like a video game. Like I'm going to pinch hit and I'm just going to get hit. It doesn't matter. I'll come off cold and I'll just go out there and I'll do what I need to do and get this team in the right position. So I love where they're at. Number 3, Georgia Tech. I just want to say one stat before we even get going on these guys. They have a team 1.1 OPS. Like, it's insanity that's their team OPS is 1.1. Drew Burris is the 10th hitter in their statisticals right now. He is hitting 10th on average. He is 10 of their 10 hitters that have qualified. He's 287 and he's in 10th place. That's how good this team is. And we're talking about him being a first round top 15 draft pick. Von Lackey has been every bit of a superstar for these guys. Georgia Tech's for real. If they can figure out their starting pitching woes, I guess we could call it, on weekends, they're going to be really, really good in top 5 all year. But I think that this lineup is just so good, it's not going to matter who they trot out there to pitch. It doesn't really matter. They're going to be almost impossible to beat in a weekend series. Like, you might take a game from them just because pitching might give up a bunch. I think moving Mason Patel to that bullpen role again was huge for them. I think Justin Shattuck's been so good out of the bullpen for these guys. I like what they have. But if they can figure out enough pitching on the weekend, look out. There's nobody that's going to compete with them offensively. I mean, the fact is, they have 133 extra base hits this season so far. That's insanity to me. That's just crazy when you're talking about 27 games so far, averaging almost 5 extra base hits a game, and you're going to win a lot of baseball games that way. So I like where they're at. The 54 home runs are a little low, but man, they're really good.
I was going to say, like, we talk about them being catcher year and they have Von Lackey, but then no one talks about Drew Rogers, who is also a good catcher and he rakes as well.
Yeah.
So you have 2 of them. And the most teams can't even find one. So,
yeah, it feels like they could just put these guys in. They go get Jared Avicula, who's like one of the top guys, and he's going out there and he's hitting 411 now for them. Just been tremendous for them. Alex Fernandez, 2-way player, has been tremendous. Carson Kearse, like, you could just go through this lineup and say, oh, Ryan Zuckerman, he's hitting 340. He's 7th on the team in average, hitting 340. That's dumb. That's ridiculous. And I just can't believe he's got 9 home runs on this team, and he's second to Von Lackey. Like, it's crazy what this Georgia Tech team is. They're really, really good at home. They're good on the road. They feel like they're good in any ballpark. It doesn't matter whether it's a big ballpark, small ballpark. They don't need to rely on the home run ball to win baseball games, and that's a sign of a very good baseball team to me. So we have them here at 3.
What's their floor? Yeah. What's their floor, do you think? So I agree. I think we can all agree their ceiling is 1. What's their floor, do you think?
Probably 10 at the lowest, I think, just because you might have question marks on the pitching side, but the offense is just so good.
Yeah,
15?
I have some concerns with the pitching.
Yeah. I mean, again, at some point you're just going to score more runs. But
that's what it feels like. That's why I have them 10 at the lowest. Like,
I haven't had a really big challenge in the ACC yet either. I guess you could say NC State is, but
NC State,
we wanted to say Clemson,
NC State can hit. NC State can hit. They had 2 pitchers go 14 1/3 and give a 1 earned run. Like that, they're not going to lose any series if they can do that. But I was confused what they're doing with Dylan Loy. Like, is he a starter? Is he a bullpen? Like, I agree with Patel. Him going I think he makes it better. He goes 1 2/3. Doesn't give up an earned run. For me, they almost just feel like they're trying to win Friday and Saturday, and then they're like, we're just gonna beat you on Sunday with runs.
Find a way to out hit you on Sunday.
It's kind of what it feels like. So I really like them. I just don't know what their floor is. That's the only thing for me.
I keep wondering. I know that I talked about this a lot offline here with Jared about, do they bring Shattuck in at some point and say you're going to be a weekend starter, and instead of, like, do they make that experience change? But he's been so good out of the bullpen. It's like, I almost don't want to pull him out of there.
No, he was not great as a starter at Rutgers either.
Yeah. He struggled as a starter. That's why they put him in the bullpen. He's been good. He's been successful for them. So I don't know. I mean,
no one was able to touch him. He had 3 Ks and he had 2 walks. So we saw 5 guys and no one made contact.
Nobody put the ball in play.
Yeah.
Hey, those numbers are good. Number 2, Texas stays here at 2. Like, it could have been either way, but I think that UCLA, of course, has been number 1. They stay number 1.
Right.
Texas at 2, I think that's fine. I think, honestly, this 1-2 is going to be this way for a long season. Jason, I know you want to talk about this Texas team. There's some question marks, but boy, they just continue to find ways to win.
I mean, I think maybe this is me just not listening enough, but I just don't feel like Ruger's getting enough attention.
So
good.
Like he again, 7 innings, no one runs, 4 to 1 K per walk. Like he just continuously goes out there. He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't get hit hard. Like he may get touched around here or there, but he's not giving up anything. And it's helpful for them because when you have some injuries like they have, I mean, with A-Rod going down, I think they've got enough offensively. Clearly, Aiden Robbins has been one of the top probably 15 hitters in all of D1. I mean, Carson Tenney, he had a good weekend, but I still don't think he's kind of like lived up to what they expected coming out of the portal. He's obviously doing well. Borba has been playing great. Larson's been one of the surprises for me. He only had 8 plate appearances this weekend, but when he came over for LSU, I didn't know if he was just going to be kind of like that, that 10th to 11th hitter, or if he was going to actually like break into the rotation. It kind of feels like he's still on the outside, but I feel like now he's going to be pretty much. If I were to guess, I feel like he's going to be becoming more that kind of everyday, outfielder for them. So the only thing I still have a little bit of questions on is their bullpen. Hayden LaFew finally looked good out of the pen for them, which was a big step forward for them. They always have Volantis. He wasn't as sharp as he has been, but still probably the best Sunday starter. So, I mean, really, they're going to have to find a 4th to 6th bullpen guy because I think they'll be one of those teams. I don't want to put bad juju on them, but it almost feels like an Arkansas of like 23, where if you got them off schedule, could their 6th through 8th pitcher kind of get you out of a loser's bracket? That's where I would almost like struggle a little bit with Texas.
Yeah.
But if they stay on schedule, if it's Ruger, then Harrison, then Volantis, and they're only throwing 3 or 4 out of the bullpen, you're screwed. So I think their floor is a little bit lower because of that, but that's just my opinion.
I feel like they just haven't even really gotten going fully offensively yet either, because there's so much more talent there that they have. But Ruger, to me, is the poster child of why I don't think win-loss is an individual stat. Like, he's been so good for them, and the fact that he wasn't getting wins was dumb. He's been so good for them on Friday nights. Like, to me, he's the poster child for that reason. But yeah, I like this Texas team, and I think that too is very safe for them, how well they've played, especially in SEC play as well. Number 1, UCLA. Not really a surprise here. Ho-hum, they go out there, they just continue to win. What is it, 19 straight wins now, and they just continue to bully teams. Is it 20 now?
It's 19. Yeah.
It's 19, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just ridiculous. I mean, it doesn't matter what they do. It doesn't matter who they play. It just feels like, hey, they know that they're going to go win. Different guys are going to perform. Logan Redeman has been so good for them. And like, I'm just very impressed by this team. Every single time I look at them, I try to watch, and it's like, okay, they're good, but I don't see anything that sticks out. And then they just keep winning. Like, that's what sticks out. They win baseball games. It's none of the superstar stats. I mean, yes, they have Rock Chalowski, but there's so many guys around him that step up also. So I just like this team overall. Will, I know you were so high on this team to start, and it just continues to raise.
Yeah, confirmed really good at baseball. That's kind of all you can say. Like, they're just
I don't know what else to add.
They scored 38 runs this weekend, I think, on 36 hits.
16 extra base hits.
Yeah, just unreal what they did. I put out a couple of graphics through the weekend because they just are mashing. Huge week, though. I mean, this is another really big test for them. We saw them do it. However, I'm really excited for this because UCLA has had the opportunity to play the Mississippi States of the world. This is a huge weekend, though. It's going to be a lot of fun against a really, really good pitching staff. Like I said, USC is holding opponents to a 171 batting average.
Jared's excited for this one, I can tell.
Is it a hot take to think that this series won't even be close?
I was about to say
I'm
the
with you.
exact same thing.
It feels like a complete blowout ready to happen and just be like, oh, we were all too high on USC, but you had to put USC where they are. Maybe.
I mean, I don't know if the Maryland series was kind of like a reality. I mean, I know the weather wasn't phenomenal. I know where Maryland is a bandbox, as we talked about. Like a lot of factors went into it not being great, but still, like that's a lot of runs. And then you're going up against like a school with like Peyton Brennan who could hit the ball 7,000 feet. So like
514-foot home run this weekend.
and his bat drop was like a light little like drop. Like if that was Seth Dardar, like that the bat would have been on the moon. So like it's silly what that team is capable of doing.
I think my big thing is that we all talk about the UCLA offense, but they have a 3.27 ERA as a team. Like this is not a bad pitching staff. Yeah,
Cervantes really isn't pitching right now, right?
No.
Is he injured?
No.
I can't remember.
They're not even having to use him.
I think he's pitching Tuesdays, like midweeks, because he's got 6 starts and it hasn't come on a weekend. So I believe he's pitching midweeks.
He's pitching all midweeks.
Turning down $3 million to do at midweeks. Goodness.
Hey. But do you want to be a part of a team that makes a run, and do they have to move him and use him as a bullpen piece late? And you got that guy that's been starting all those games and getting that experience. Like,
it's impressive. It's impressive what they're doing.
I will say Mason Edwards on Friday could be very interesting.
Yeah,
like, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if this series is lopsided, but that's interesting on Friday.
Yeah. I'm curious, like, what this lineup could do against Edwards, because Edwards hasn't had a massive test yet, lineup-wise.
No.
But UCLA is the inverse. I mean, they went up against the Mississippi States, and, Tennessee, and they went up against. I mean, we didn't mention Tegan Kuhn's going to the bullpen, but Tegan Kuhn's is a legit arm, and I mean they hit him up pretty good. So I mean, we'll see.
It's crazy because their bullpen arms don't have like a ton of innings, but it's because their starters like are logging 6-7 innings each time.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, especially if they get, Edwards out of the game in 6 even. Like, that's kind of like what Oregon did to Jackson Flora, getting him out in 5 innings, and then all of a sudden it's a beatable team at that point. Kind of the same thing for USC, I think. If UCLA can knock Edwards out early, even 6 innings is early for that, they're in a good spot, and I think that this team can do that.
Maryland knocked them out in 4 1/3 and almost 10-run ruled them. So or almost got 10-run ruled. Sorry, Maryland. That's just to show you how good Maryland is. They almost got 10-run ruled, but they came back against the bullpen. To your point, Mark, like
they came all the way back to the 1-run loss.
They were down like 11-1, and then all of a sudden Edwards came out and it's 11-10. They almost lost that game.
Yeah. Well, boys, we've done it. All top 25 teams here. We've gotten through it. Any final thoughts that you guys want to share? I will start with you, Will.
I got nothing. More baseball.
We talked about a lot.
There's a lot of really good teams. I think this year is going to be really, really fun in the postseason. I hate looking ahead because that means the season's almost done, but this postseason is going to be insane. Like there's going to be 16 1 seeds, and I would not be surprised to see 3 of them only advance. Like it really is. Like there are. I genuinely believe that 80%, if not more, of the teams that are in the tournament have a legit shot to get to Omaha.
Yeah, it's going to be the teams that are hot, and then we've seen it throughout the season already. The teams that are hot are playing well, and then if they're not, boy, they're getting beat. Good teams that we think are doing really well, and then they get beat even at home. Doesn't feel like home field advantage has really mattered that much this season, which has been another wild thing to me. Jason, final thoughts for the crew?
So I was just going to add on to what Will was just mentioning. Ironically, the first year that they're ranking 17 through 32, I think is going to be a shit show.
It may not matter.
Well, it's not just that. Like,
it's going to be hard. It's going to be how are you going to determine
who are you going to put at 31st? Like, God, like no. Like,
a team that could have been hosting.
Like, could you imagine? Like, yeah, exactly. Like the difference, the distance between like 12th and 32nd. I don't think is very far at all. And they're going to have to rank all of them. It's not like college basketball where you can just throw out 1 through 16 and, they give a rank for it. But I'm telling you.
Realistically, what you just said is the difference between Southern Miss and Ole Miss. Like 12 to 30.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Arizona State and Miami. Like we're talking like it's fractions of a percentage here with these teams.
Yeah. I mean, they're teams, and then you've got like like the kind of like oddballs like Kansas that I think could play like a top 10 team on like a certain day, but then they could also play like, they're not in the tournament another day. I think the committee is screwed this year. I think that's my best way to put it.
I like it. I am so excited for Selection Monday, even though I don't want to get there yet, but I'm so excited. I'm so excited for that show. That's going to be just a blast. Jared, final thoughts for the audience here, man.
I'm over college baseball pick'em, and I'm so far in my head on this that I'm just going to let Claude pick it this week for me. I'm just going to plug the series into AI. I'm going to see what happens.
Make no mistake.
Oh man,
Jared gets booed a lot in the pick'em comments. I'll be honest, Jared just gets bullied every week for whatever reason. Nobody ever makes a comment
People are
on
so
anybody's
kind.
picks, and then to Jared, they're all like, Jared.
Yep.
Every week, I swear.
I picked Ole Miss for Mississippi State fans, and
that's true.
There we go. They won the
and then
series.
they still trashed you.
Yeah.
Oh my God, man! Just the bastions of kindness are on Twitter. I mean, really. Nothing but love, nothing but kind words.
Good
it's
vibes,
really
always.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it is impressive what the Beavers of Oregon State have done. They've got 37,000 Twitter fans that are like, Barbara's Beaver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there's so many of them,
Hey,
and they are all aggressive.
I will say. I told these guys, 30 to 35 fans came up to take pictures and talk about you guys, and they wanted to trash talk all of us at the same time and say that we weren't doing our jobs, but they still want to take pictures and they still listen. So we appreciate it. Thanks to the fans.
Awesome.
We love doing the show. We love that you guys love this. Get after us. Again, message us. We love having the interactions with you guys. We'll be at more ballparks. We'll see you guys live on the Thursday show here, or Wednesday or Thursday. We don't know when we're going to do it quite yet, getting ready for the preview show. So thanks so much, and we'll see you guys again soon, Wednesday or Thursday night.